So I'll turn it over to you.
Maria, sure. Oh, you, thanks for coming.
Do you mind if I start?
Go right ahead.
All right, thanks. All right, so thanks everybody for coming. How we have it all set up is we'll go through the information here. You guys also have it with you. Over there we have, that's going to be a visual that we'll use when we start looking at long-term planning. What we're going to do is pretty much, as you can see here, we're going to look at these guidelines again. Look at our timeline, which there's nothing really special. It's not any different than what we've had before. The biggest difference is we're at an accelerated pace to look at our 17-18 budget because of our bond rating. And we're going to be going out to get bonds pretty soon. Hey, Vicki. Got you right over here. I've already got notes for you. And then we're going to look at the review of the 16-17, have some really good news about where we're at there, the budget revisions. And then we're going to review 17-18, 18-19 budget projections, cost savings, cash flow, referendum. There's a lot of things going on. And then over here, one of the things that we're going to start looking and talking about is a possible April 19th possible operation referendum if we could need, but we'll talk about how that would work in and what that would look like. The reality of it is we are so unsure about like our 3-year average. We're serving more kids, but we only get counted for some. Budget uncertainty. I mean, we think we know what we're going to get, but we really don't know. Economy, school finance rules could all change. We could have a change in the governorship. I doubt we're going to see a change in the Assembly and Senate. So it's not that we're going to referendum in April of 19 or that we're going to go to an operational referendum. We might have to look at other things. But just time to look at it, what that cost would be, and start thinking about different options and have everything kind of out there. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Before we start going in, I want to respect Liz's time and just kind of jump. But if you guys wouldn't mind, Liz Leigler's here. I was going to say Flaherty. Liz Leigler's here. Liz is our psychologist. One of the things that you're going to look at when we look at our projected budget for next year is some additional staffing. And probably the biggest addition of additional staffing would be another school psychologist. And we're going to tell about how we look at that we can afford it and what benefits it would do. But I guess instead of me telling you, Liz was kind enough to stay here and articulate. What will happen today is as we have conversations and I tell you about the budget, and you look and you know what, we're not settling a budget for 18-19 or 17-18. We really won't be doing that till October. But what I'm going to be doing is saying, hey, are you okay with what it looks like, what projections are? And if that is so, then we'll look at posting some positions. So the way that you would approve another psychologist would be by approving that position when I would bring it to the board. So just as in the past, when we go through things, there is looking at some additional staff. That would cause some deficit spending, but we do believe that we do have a good plan. So just to kind of jump ahead a little bit to honor your time, Liz, if you wouldn't mind, just tell a little background about the district and what you see as a school psychologist. You've done a lot of great things, but why you think our district would be benefited by looking at another school psychologist.
Yeah.
And you can stay there if you want. You can say.
Okay. I think what I've noticed in coming to a district, and previously, just to give you a background, I was in a smaller district before, well, smaller categorical wise, but as far as, it was about 1,600, and right now, North Fond du Lac's at about 1,360, 1,350, somewhere in that range. Correct me if I'm speaking wrong, but around that range. There are some definite needs as far as the income-wise and as far as trauma. My job, part of my job is to work as a mental health advocate for students. And so in that, I get to interview a lot of families, a lot of parents, and my perspective, I truly see the number of interviews that I've done, I've seen a very high level of trauma, which requires that mental health service. So even though there's somewhat fewer kids, there are still some great needs that involve a school psychologist. And what the state is recommending, in order for me to effectively meet special education services, be an advocate for intervention, academic and mental health interventions, as well as communicate with the community providers. I'm doing about 57 evaluations this year, and I made a list. It's in my documentation, so you all get a chance to see that if the admin shares it. But with each one of them, I'm connected to at least 3 or 4 outside community providers, and that's only for that subset of kids. So among those role areas, if I'm to effectively serve a district of that size, or if I'm effectively to provide those services, the state recommends that I serve between 500 and 700 kids. And that's what the National School Psychology organization recognizes too. In order for me to fulfill all those roles, that's about the ratio. And as you can see, it's about double of where I'm at right now. And I'm a very optimistic person, so I try to do what I can, but what I'm seeing is a need for some systematic change. And what I see the school psychologist role being more effective is to consult. Right now, ideally, I'm consulting with our Director of Teaching and Learning, and as well as our reading specialist or academic interventionist that we would have, special education staff, mental health providers, and administration. And when I have so many initial evaluations, that consultation gets limited, which not only impacts the individuals, but it doesn't allow me to provide that professional development. And I think a school psychologist can provide a ton of professional development, and for a lot cheaper than bringing in outside providers. We have a very broad role covering social work, covering school counseling. Essentially, everything they can do fits within the realm of school psychology. So I see this not only being it's not a call for help saying, oh, we need another person. It's, if we're going to create system change and eventually reduce some needs for more people, always adding more people, a school psychologist can have that impact on all of those systems, on all of those changes. I have to just give you a couple examples of some kids, because I think this is going to hit home for you. 2 students that I worked with last year, I was able to connect them to multiple outside resources, the Trafford Center, occupational therapy, counselors, psychiatrists, and communicate directly with all of those providers. One student, we've gone from, I would say, 10 seclusion restraints and probably just chasing this child around the building a good portion of the year to he is fully functioning. He is fully functioning, he's in all his classes, and he is succeeding. I had another child, he came to us being suspended from kindergarten. Suspended, out of school suspended 53 times. And 17 seclusion restraints in 1 month.
That didn't happen in the 53 times he wasn't suspended from our district. He came.
Correct. And then that level of seclusion restraint within our district in 1 month. This year, he has had maybe one seclusion restraint. And I attribute it to the fact that I was able to provide that consultation. I don't get to do all the direct services, but I was able to bring the reading specialist, his special education teachers, his regular education teachers, his psychiatrist, and his therapist all together. And support his mom in being at all of those things. And I mean, that's the power that a school psychologist can have, I think. And I think that's the best bang for your buck as a district.
One thing that Lizette told me, she told me, you don't have any idea how good it could be. And what I appreciate that, what her mindset is we're looking at system changes. We've already started to use 504s. We never used to use 504s, and those are a legal document that it's not a student with special education needs, or with physical or maybe mental and emotional diagnosed needs that don't qualify for special education. So we've been able to really utilize that plan. It's great because that plan then goes with that student too. We've also seen people get out of 504s and get out of special education because you have somebody who can coordinate those needs. Liz, let me ask you, how would this impact our counselors, our teachers, our administration? How do you see adding another psychologist impacting our school in a positive way?
I think one of the biggest things by dividing that caseload, the school psychologist can really become a part of the school culture. My ability to be a part of the school culture in the middle and high school is very limited. So I know that if you're part of that culture, you can have change at the least restrictive level for kids, rather than looking one child at a time for something that's wrong with that child. You can work at fixing, I shouldn't say fixing, making the system that serves all children better. And being part of some of the intervention teams and some of the school-wide teams, I think would serve a greater number of kids without having to focus on a disability. And that to me, and as a future mom, that's what I would want for my kids. I'd want that, working on that system, and working to meet their needs in the least restrictive way, with the least amount of labels, the least stigma, I think.
Liz, how would you propose dividing it between you and another person if we did that? By grade level or school building, or by splitting, the duties down, both consulting and both doing special, like IEPs and stuff? Or?
I've given a lot of thought to this, actually, because part of me doesn't want to give up working with any of the people. I've made a lot of good connections here, but I think the best way to serve kids' needs would be to divide K-5. I have one school psychologist, and then 6-12, and possibly some of our birth to 3, which are working mostly with an outside agency, and maybe the 4K with that person. What that would do, it would allow each school psychologist to form those connections with staff, to be an integral part, so that we're not coming in giving suggestions when we don't know the culture. And it would also probably close to even out the number of evaluations that each of us would be responsible for. And by doing that, we could focus equal amount of times on consultation and the individual evaluations that are still needed for students. So that would be my recommendation. And when people say, well, what would you do? Because I've been asked that several times. I'm a team player. I have now had experience at both levels. And I would really look to the second person that we would be interviewing and look at their strengths. Where do they feel most comfortable? Where do they have experience? And I think I could do either end of that. Feel very comfortable.
Do you feel like currently there are kids that the teachers and educators think could use your services, but are kind of on that brink, and because of the current caseload, they're not making those referrals to you?
Yes. Because even if, right now,
that feeling, that's why I asked that question.
I do, and it breaks my heart when I can't give that time, because right now I feel like a lot of people are accessing me only for a special education referral.
Sure. And
I have 23 of them going right now. That those teachers that need me just to consult on, how can we collect better data on this? How can we try this intervention? Or how can we support this student without going through a special education evaluation? Because maybe they don't have a disability, or they don't, they don't require specialized instruction. They might just require us to try something different. And that's what I did a lot when I was only responsible for K-12. Or when I was only responsible for 5-12 at my previous district, that I was really able to provide that consultation.
Sure.
Not only to one teacher at a time, but maybe to like a grade level or PLC.
Sure.
Or, yeah. So yeah, I think that's a huge part, and that hits me.
Right.
I think one of the things that, as I was talking with Liz and Debbie, is that the preventative part.
Mm-hmm.
So many times we wait for kids to fail or to have problems before we have the resources to support. So this is one of those, I think, one of those positions where we have upfront investment saves us on the long run. We get every family supported and cared for the best we can from early childhood through 5th grade. You will start to see, less and less need, or different need, if you will, as they go forward. So, it's one of those things to get away from let's wait for a kid to fail even though we know they're going to. Let's wait for all these problems to happen and then ship them off or figure it out. I think it's a lot like what autism was like in the past. We just blanketed kids as being trouble, or that's an issue. And now with mental health, a lot of these expressions of behavior really come from things we have no idea and we don't have the resources to find out. So I want to thank you, Liz. If anybody has other questions, otherwise we got quite a slate ahead.
You do, sorry.
And I'll just piggyback on, you and I have had tons of conversations about, you can't just keep adding people to solve the problem for special ed. You know, if you don't address it from a systematic change and start with many types of interventions, a wide range of differentiation, those are the kinds of things that consulting on a preventative level can make a huge difference. So, well, yeah, we want to reduce special education numbers and do it besides 504. That's a way that we can probably start for one way.
All right. Thank you. All right. All right, so then at this time, what I'll do is I'll turn it over to Maria. And well, first off, before we go there, if you look at our goals, we have budget on a 2-year fiscal cycle, which we're looking at. Maximize local resources, look at alternative revenue sources, which we've done, be it with our CLC, our E3 grant, or our PEP grant, or other grants that we look at. Thanks, Liz. And then prioritize and allocate funds within budget, work to not short-term borrow. This is one of those that we're going to have to look at and see, you know, how important that is, where we're looking at financially the future. We can't, one of the things that I know is that if we want to maintain services and grow, we're going to have to look, because currently our funding isn't keeping up with the increase of costs. So we'll have to look at some of these things. So those right now, I don't think we need to change those right now, but those are definitely number 3, something that we're going to want to address to see what we would have to change in order to make that one come reality. Okay?
And I'd love to keep this just an open dialogue, so if you have questions or comments or concerns, just jump right in and let's just talk about all of this. There's a lot of information, a lot of numbers, a lot of unknowns still for the next 2 years. So, and I'll keep you updated as we get more information, but this is what we have now to work with. So, and I wanna, Erin, we didn't talk about or put in our information about the psychology, and if you've looked at the governor's budget, in his budget, there is, and Erin, you might know more about.
What there is possible is Governor Walker's wife is really taking, you know, the charge about mental health, and they're looking at currently in the governor's budget in 18-19 is adding some half reimbursement back for adding social worker or social work type of things, which I believe a school psychologist could be considered. The reality of that is waiting a year and letting problems go up just so that we can have it at that time. So I don't know how that all will go, but there is definitely that possibility, and maybe it could even help alleviate in the second year. But we don't know. All the budget stuff is.
But if you've looked at the governor's budget and seen that in there, that's something that Erin and I have talked about and weighed. You know, is it worth giving up that potential revenue to add the psychologist 1 year earlier? So just, you know, just so you guys are on the same page that we are, just so you know that that's out there.
Yeah, we've talked numerous times, spent hours on this. So this is just some information, and we'll rock and roll. So we should probably start with the update from this year.
Yeah. All right, 16-17 is looking like it's going to end in a balanced budget, which is, increased enrollment has had a huge part in that. Thanks to our district, we keep getting, our staff, we keep getting more kids, not only more kids, but more staff want to come and work here. So our culture is awesome. Parents want to keep bringing their kids here. We have kids that are moving out of our district, but they're open enrolling back in. So
Financially, that's negative $4 grand. Just to give you that.
But yeah, but they're not leaving us. They're leaving us for other opportunities perhaps, but they're still keeping their kids here. So that being said,
Let me interrupt you for a minute. So when a student that lives in the district leaves the district, but yet school choice is back in, we're still at a minus number.
What happens is that if you have a student who lives here, we get about $10,000, we'll say, somewhere around there.
yeah.
If they leave here and they open enroll, we get about $6,700. So $3,300. So open enrollment, so like if a student leaves Fond du Lac, they levy for 11 or 10 or whatever they have, they keep part of it and then they pay us $6,700. So at the end of the year, all of our open enrollment coming in, we'll send a bill to Fond du Lac. We have 100 coming in, 60 going out, you owe us for 40. We do the same thing, and that's, so you have, like when you saw the FTEs drop last year, but our open enrollment increased, we did have a little less revenue because, or not that we lost, it's kind of like Apple saying, you know what, we had a bad quarter because we only increased by 30% instead of 50%. So it's just kind of different, and a lot of it has to, it's about financial and resident stuff.
I wasn't aware that there was a difference between.
Yeah.
And if you're, just throw this out there, if you're a voucher student, we send about $7,800, not $67, but $7,800, so voucher students get more money.
And if they're special ed, then it's 12,000.
Yep.
So-
And we can't levy to our full, we only can levy the amount that it costs to send them. So we don't get any value like we do for other, so just a side note.
St. Mary Springs is a voucher school within our area.
There's about 7 of them
Yeah.
in our area.
Yeah, well,
And we only
Immediate.
lost, I think, 3 kids, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so 16, 17, like I said, I think we're gonna end pretty even. If we end up with a surplus, I would recommend that we put that surplus into Fund 73 because we are starting, that's that OPEB, the Post-Employment Benefit Fund. I would recommend that we put any surplus in there because we are starting to draw money out of that. And then by doing that, we can get aid on that, on those dollars. If we just leave it in Fund 10, we don't get any aid on that.
We did that a few years ago, and we learned that there's 2 different mechanisms, Fund 73 and then 46. 46 is what we have that long-term building plan. I think we probably have a couple thousand in there. So you can put the money in there, and what that would do is if we have a surplus, let's say we have a $20,000, $30,000 surplus, we put it in Fund 73, we get aided on it, that we broke even, we spent that money, but then next year, that's $30,000 less out of Fund 10 that we can use to help pay for our post-employment benefit. Does that make sense?
They'll be in and out, basically, but we'll have the benefit of being able to get aid on it. Okay, so jumping to the spreadsheet for 16, 17. The top part is just, there was a little it looks like there's gonna be a little difference, a little bit less in revenue. And I've just hit some of the bigger ones that I've found so far. It looks like we'll have about $26,000 less in revenue, which on a $15 million budget, it's pretty close. And then down below are some of the bigger expenditures where I'm seeing a budget difference. The left-hand column is going to help us, that's additions to our revenue, and then the other side are more costs. Some of the bigger ones, like open enrollment, it changes constantly. There is no window really anymore. There is for regular open enrollment, but it really is an ongoing, year-long puzzle for us to.
And this doesn't mean that we lost money, this just means that it's less than what we thought, than when we had the model earlier.
Right. And it was due to 16 less open enrolled in that we thought we were going to get, and 2 less open enrolled out.
And this is a neat one right here. We are actually, as we look at our technology, one of our goals was with leasing, we would start to cut that budget and use less of it. We've added an intern. He's helped out a lot, but we have actually seen our hardware budget start to reduce, and that's something that we want to do.
HRA deductible, that's another big one. That's looking like it's going to be $170,000 under budget. And as you know, we budget very conservatively, so I budget the maximum amount that could be used for, that's our active HRA, the deductible. We're at about 63% utilization, it looks like. That could change in the next couple months, but that is what it's looking like. We'll see a savings. And then down a few more lines, that is the HRA for our retirees. Looks like they're using less than what I thought. That one's a little bit harder to budget because they can actually roll over money from year to year that they don't use. So we have no idea. You know, they could not use it for 2 years and then all of a sudden use 3 years worth all at once. So that one's a little bit tougher to budget, so that, but that's trending to be about $60,000 savings right there.
Down here is a big one. It's all wash.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like so far. It would keep our fund balance at 21%. Those are some of the bigger assumptions that I've made. Do you have any questions on 16, 17 so far? And next month is when I'll come to you with the actual budget revision that will get published in the paper, and that's what's going to go to DPI, and then they use that to forecast our aid for next year. So I try to wait as long as I can so that I have really good numbers to go in with so that we can get as close to our aid estimate as possible.
Are we always at like 21 or 23% or 20?
That's how we have been for the past
Yeah.
3-4 years.
Yeah,
Close.
it's been going down. We've had such a good fund balance. I mean, when I started here, it was probably close to 30. But 21% is still a decent fund balance.
It's in the top
that-
echelon. of
Yeah,
districts.
it's,
And also, it's starting to reduce because our budget's getting bigger. So as our budget gets bigger too, you have that same amount, you have less percentage of what we have available. That's a smaller portion of it, but that's an element of it too.
yeah, that's about our threshold to be able to, not short-term borrow,
20% is?
about 20.
And hopefully there's something going on with the state budget where we could maybe, there's talk about getting 10 or 12 equal payments. So right now we get 4 of them. And our biggest one is our dates, Maria, where it's most.
Oh, when we get the most?
Yeah, like we're eating mac and cheese for
Oh.
like the month of November.
Yeah, we are kind of eating mac and cheese October, November. That's when I tell Bonnie to just hold all the bigger checks until we get our aid. It comes in early December.
And then we get our biggest aid in June when pretty much everything's done.
Well, we get a big chunk in June. Actually, no, we get it in July.
Yeah.
So.
We get it in July for the
Oh,
previous
For the
year.
previous year, yeah. Yep. So it's an interesting model.
So the lower that percentage is, the worse we are?
That percentage is what we have in our fund balance, in our savings, basically,
July.
which is about 3 million, divided by our expenditures. So it changes all the time.
Yeah.
But that's what it's projected to end at this year.
And the only thing we really use it for is making sure we can make payroll. A big thing.
Yeah, it's just all timing. Because we don't get our first aid payment until December, we're going 4 or 5 months with nothing. We haven't gotten any tax revenue yet. First tax payment is not until January, so that's
why you pull the September, October, November, pull out of the fund balance, and then when you get the check in December, you put it
right,
back.
Right.
exactly.
That's what you'll see money on hand. It's like, we only got like $6.
Yeah.
You'll see that fluctuate, and that's because of exactly that.
Yeah, and I watch it. As soon as Bonnie is cutting checks, I'm watching daily what's going on in our fund balance, and then, we react to that. But it's tight. In the fall, it's very tight.
And we do have a note with American for $400,000, which we've never used. So we do have those, and we're looking at, if we would, what we're gonna start to do is, in the next few months, Maria will give you a report, if we did short-term borrow, how much would it cost? We might be looking at a couple weeks of money being borrowed at, yeah. So we're not looking at a significant amount of money, but that's a question we're gonna have when we look at that third goal. Is that worth it to do different things? And that's where we'll look at our plan, maybe, or just kind of looking at stuff, so. Cool.
So that is 16, 17 in a nutshell, and I'll be back next month to update you on that.
So we're looking balanced. We thought we were at about $100,000 deficit, and we're about balanced.
Yep, we started at 97, I think, 97,000. thousand, so it was good. And that does use $100,000 from our Fund 73. So just a note there, that's one of the assumptions. And we have $230,000 in there right now, so. Okay, moving on to 17-18. If you read my narrative about 17-18, the governor's budget's still in the works. They're still talking about it. We probably won't see anything until June. June is probably best case scenario. But we have some decisions that we need to make, and one of those big ones is staffing. The psychologist is one of the positions that is being talked about. The other ones are down below, the last blue section there. Those are some of the either increases to current staff that are not quite a full FTE, or some actual additions.
And I can go through each one of these as we go forward.
So up at the top, we'll just start at the top. When I did my first look at the budget, it looked like we were going to be at a negative 592,000. So we talked right away, and that first gray area, those are the immediate revisions that are actually going to come to fruition. Our Tier 3 long-term sub, that's some help over at Bessie Allen for kids to it's kind of like an ALC for middle school.
Yeah, we thought it'd be more expensive. We're looking at that, so originally it was higher budgeted.
Yeah, the same, oh, and then we would eliminate an aide. He's at 31,000 right now. And then we think with the referendum coming, we can put off some, well, safety, we've pretty much got, we're safe. We've got cameras everywhere. And that's been probably the bulk of our safety budget. So we can reduce that by about 10,000. And then building repairs, we're thinking we can put off some things, patch parking lots instead of replacing large chunks of it, things like that, that we can kind of take away from the maintenance budget right now and then put into the referendum. I am going to have to add some money for transportation, for busing. So those changes brought us down to $521,000, $529,000 deficit. If we were at that, it would bring our fund balance down to 17.44. And that is the most conservative budgeting. That's how we have been budgeting. So that is using all of our HRA, which we know we don't. That's a 12% increase in health insurance, which we're going to bid, we're going out for bid in the fall. And we're trying to get experience numbers now to see how we're trending as far as, they can kind of give us a ballpark as to what to expect. That's
Increase in salaries.
increase in salaries, yep, which is an
I'll share
average
those
of-
during the closed session there, we have some proposal.
Yeah, but it is increase in salaries. What else? Heating and electric at what I've been budgeting all along. So that's the conservative budgeting method, and that's what that it would be a negative 521. Now, Aaron and I spent a lot of time on this and said, okay, we have a rating call coming up at the beginning of June. A negative $521,000 deficit does not bode well for, and bond rating,
And it's not realistic. We don't believe we're gonna be at
Right.
$500,000 deficit. That's just how we've always done it. So now what we're gonna do is do a little forecasting.
we're gonna, yeah.
Still conservative forecasting, but forecasting nonetheless.
Right. More realistic to trend. So, and if we do that, we're hoping for a health insurance renewal at 9% rather than the 12. This year, our dental renewal was 0. So, if we can maintain that, that would save $17,000. 70% utilization, which is kind of what we've been trending over the last few years for our active HRA would save $145,000. And then our retirees at 80% utilization. Also, our heat and electric, global warming is, I guess, really happening because I've been able to save on our heat every year. But heat and electric together, I think it's pretty realistic to say that it would be 30,000 under budget. And then I had $20,000 in for the new lease for technology, but Aaron was reviewing that, and we think it'll be about 15,000.
If even that.
Some things that we've talked about that we're kind of keeping in our back pocket are the health insurance. Right now, we're at a 10% employee responsibility. Bringing it to 12% employee responsibility would save the district about $25,000. And another thing to keep in mind, we don't really think it will happen, but again, in the governor's budget, he is tying aid to insurance, to, it's that Act 10.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
There's a lot of rumblings about that, but it is in the governor's budget that in order to get that aid, you would have to charge your employees 12% for their premiums.
Not really.
Well, it'd be 12% cost.
Which,
You have to-
yeah.
So anyway, that might be mandated. We don't think it will be, but it is out there. And then raising
A
the,
little closer to other industry trends,
No.
or no?
What happened was that there's some people who are angry with Racine, Madison, Milwaukee because they haven't utilized all the Act 10 tools. So I mean, it's a school board to say, no, we want to keep insurance like this, no, we want to keep insurance like that. So we have a handful of legislators that are just angry, is what it comes down to. When we went and rebid, we saved a lot more than if we would just charge our people 12%, our employees. Deductibles, there's creative plans, we had high deductibles, we have higher for emergency rooms, there's a lot of creativity. Originally what it was is that if you have a state design plan, you had to charge your employees 12%. That was more for the public sector employees, like everybody except for the police and the fire, that you would have to pay that. For educators, most of us, we never had a state design plan, we had different designs. So now what's going on is that some people are saying, well, we want an Act 10 compliance. We're Act 10 compliance if we charge our people 0%, because we don't have a state design plan. But now, so it's what's the intent of it? So this isn't anything more than ripping off a scar and saying, hey, we don't think that you're really utilizing the tools or sticking it to staff enough. So you need to do this. That's really what it is,
yeah.
to unpack it.
But, I mean, to be transparent, it is in the governor's budget right now, it has not been removed yet. There's a lot of pressure I know from my fellow business managers, there's a lot of pressure from superintendents that are saying, just let the school boards decide this. There's no reason for this to be a state decision.
And you even have the Speaker of the Assembly saying, well, it's only going to be a sign off and you just have to do this stuff. You'll be able to have workarounds. Then why put it in?
Right. It would create a lot of work because they're not just, it's not just premiums, it's total cost per
And they don't even know that.
average, right.
Well, we'll move on because it's
Yeah.
so.
So anyway, that is in our back pocket if we should need that. If we were to make a change, we wouldn't come to you until the fall and implement a change like that until January.
And that's what we tell staff. Right now, we're recommending staying with our 10% and then our 100, 200. We're going to go out to bid, I'm pretty sure, for January 1. Look at some savings if we can make this all happen. We're looking at hopefully saving more than 3% on a renewal. But the reality will tell the staff, because we had said this to staff before, we're going to change January 1. We went to United Healthcare, saw some savings, we didn't do it. We're looking at between 2 and 3% increases in salaries, which we changed some of this stuff. It's like taking that money right out from where it was increased, and our staff has done an excellent job. So what I love about what Maria's done here is, here's where we're looking at savings. So overall, we're looking at, we could possibly save $321 realistically. This isn't shooting the moon, which that would take this down to $115,529 deficit. So this is kind of what we're thinking at right now, and that does not include these things right here. So, you know, we get to the point in the budget, the governor's budget, maybe we don't get $100 or $200 or $204 per kid. Maybe we have to look at making some things up in January or something, so we still have that leeway.
Now, everything above that line, above that $115,000 are, it could swing either way. I mean, it's been, the last few years, it's been swinging our way to our benefit. It could swing the other way too. So, you know, just, you know, we just need to keep that in mind, that our active HRA could be more.
It was over 100% one year.
Yes, so this is what we would be coming to you with, no matter what. We would be coming to you with a $521,000 deficit that we actually published, and then we would say, but this is what we think it, you know, realistically would be. The difference is, we would publish the $115,000, use that for our bond rating, or for our call. It's more, it's
More
more
accurate.
trend-like.
Yeah, that we said.
And then, you know, we'll adjust in September when we know what our enrollment is, what our open enrollment is. We'll know more.
Well, that's one that we
health
skipped.
insurance.
Up here, when we look at additional revenue, we had flat, so if we have 2 new people move in, it's about $18,000, and you get your 3-year average. And then if we have 10 open enrollment come in, above where we're at now, that's 67. So we're looking at that. We could have,
We could have more, we
Yeah.
could have less. We need to start somewhere. And then some of the assumptions that I used below are another $100,000 coming out of Fund 73. That would leave us with $30,000 in Fund 73. $150,000 in supplemental special ed aid. We've been getting that as long as I've been here, and I don't see any change. The governor has not brought that up as something to look at. $200 per pupil aid, that's in the budget right now, in the governor's budget. Not final, but that's what I'm using. The salary increases, which Aaron will talk to you about in closed session, and flat open enrollment. And then up above, those are just the, you know, this could happen, what if.
so in this number right here is this here. And this is really where, I guess, the big thing, if we did not increase staff, we would be able to say we're probably about even, or maybe gonna be in the positive. The reality of it is that our product and what we do is based on staff, and if you want to get the best staff, you have to get them before the fall starts. So what we're doing is we're doing some, we're looking at the past and we're saying, you know what, and I told Marie, I said, when push comes to shove, she's helping me get the recommendation, but inherently it's my recommendation. I really believe this. I believe that we've been working very hard to not only increase revenue through bringing kids in, but I think we've been very smart. And when we look at 70% approval, when we look at our referenda, I think we have that. And if we don't, I really believe that some of these positions, I'll go through them, are going to help because we do have this increased stress on staff and on teachers. So I'll go through those right here. First is a middle school guidance increase. We've been doing that now. Jenny's been at the high school more. We have more kids. We have the most kids at our high school in the 2000s. So we've been doing that. So that puts Kim here through Friday. Middle school art increase. This is John Carey. John would be doing the art at Friendship and ALC. So he would be full-time. So we're going to get a full-time teacher for Alice's position, but with our increased need of students, because we have increased enrollment at FLC. Alice used to do 1 class at ALC. John Carey will be doing that. So that's where that increase is there. Or John, that's what's proposed.
Aaron, can you scoot that over to the left just a little bit so we can see the left? There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. EL aid increase, this is currently, we're looking at middle school aid, we're about 12% now, 13%, so we're looking at an increase there to help out with our EL instruction. The tier 3 interventionist, that's at 50,000. We're going to hold on to this a little bit. This could very well be a long-term substitute. Mike and his team haven't really developed what that looks like, and I don't want to hire anything until we really have an idea of how that person would be utilized. So that's one right now we have, but we're not going to look at until we really get it honed in. High school math, we have an increase in math. They're actually interviewing right now for the full-time math. This would be for that 50% cap teacher, which we haven't had anybody apply, but we think we know somebody who might want to come back. So that's that. Science overload, we actually have one class more that we need, and instead of hiring somebody, we don't have anybody who can. What we did is we came up with this number. If we ever do an overload, I'm gonna put it in the educator guide, that if you teach more than 100%, which would be 5 classes at the high school, 5 at the middle, or 6 at the high school, 6 at the middle school, then you would get 6,250. So what this is this is 1/7 of base wage. That's where we came up with that number. So currently a teacher, a high school teacher who's got a full class would have 1 prep, and so she would be working 7 out of the 8 hours, or 6 out of the 7 hours, and that would be the additional 1 year. Actually, she'd be 7 out of 7 hours. New site, this is what Liz talked about. And then new special education teacher at BA, hey Mary. And that's because we have our medically fragile students that Trish Draves is working with now. We have 4 or 5 of them coming up. We need a program, we can't open enroll we used to open enroll all those students to Fond du Lac or Oshkosh because that's where we could get the help. We can't anymore, so we're gonna see that program grow and come here. Trish Draves right now is what we're looking at, moving to the middle school, which then would open up an elementary special education.
Some interventions.
Go ahead, that's what I was gonna ask that.
We don't know yet. Right now, what we have is at Friendship. So at the middle school, we don't have any at-risk program per se. We don't have we have students we know that are in need, that we know will probably be credit deficient as they get forward. We don't really have any focus on that. And I don't know if we need a person or if we have to just work it within our schedule and what we do. But currently what happens is at Friendship, we have a tier 3 interventionist we put in there. That's that teacher who, when you look at tier 3, what we mean is in need of behavioral interventions. So academically, they're okay. They're not special education, but they need a check and check out. They might have HD or ADHD. They might have some anger things. And what it is it's that person who can help mitigate. We've seen a lot of success where we've looked at how we've changed our inclusionary model at the high school, at the middle school or the elementary school, where kids will come, get that intervention, learn how to be decent, learn about manners, learn about behavior, and then be able to go back in the classroom. We're seeing that even in the middle school, we don't have that. We have a bigger need of that. We have increased enrollment, we have mental health needs. That right there is, as I've talked to Mike, we have a lot of developing, but we want to go biggest case scenario, what that would look like. So right now, I have an idea of a teacher currently that we have on staff as a coach that might be a good fit. I don't know, we're looking at something temporary if we do actually do it to see how it could work. So we still have to figure all that out.
Did you say that exists at Friendship?
Yes.
My other question, did you mention the tech ed one, or did you just miss that one when you were going down the list?
Well, that should be in there. We might not have it in here, but that's at full time.
Well,
What is
tech
that?
ed is increasing from 83
To 100.
to 100, and this is to replace that one, but
It's actually a less cost.
we think that we'll be able to bring somebody in at less cost than what we
Currently,
have
Tom's
now.
at the top. 83% of the top is more than what 100% of.
Yeah,
A lot.
so it'd
So
be
it's
a
that
wash
position.
or a little bit of a
Because
savings.
he's retired?
Yeah.
Okay.
The FTE would increase. but
I
it's
think,
still
I just
costing.
talked to a guy. He might have it. We'll know by next Monday. He's new, come from Franklin. His name's Chris.
Young guy?
Yeah, just out of school.
So any questions on 17, 18 so far? I know there's a lot there to digest, and I'd be happy to, after the board meeting, to answer any questions or one-on-one.
And the big thing is right, like this we can hold off on a little bit, because I think, when we look at the special education teacher at Friendship, this one, if we're gonna go that way, talking with, if there isn't any big objections, I'd like to post this tomorrow and see if we can get this filled as soon as we can.
What does Liz think we're going to timeline, hiring that is from?
Well, here's what she said, there isn't that many psychologists out there,
Right.
but what she said is we have an attractive district. What we do is we already have one psychologist, we're under 2,000. For a psychologist to come to a district where they're by themselves, that's a lot different than coming to a district where you have a partner that can help out where it's going. So even though, and she also said the culture that we have here is a real positive that people might want to be part of it. So even though there's a high need for school psychologists, this position's a Fox Valley too, she said. There's a lot of school psychologists on, the northwest part of the state or southeast, and there's nothing there. Nobody, really wants to move there. We're in a pretty attractive area. So she thinks that we could possibly have some pretty decent candidates.
And the purple stuff, the assumptions are part of the
Yes.
115,000?
They're part of this, which is part of this.
Okay. And if those things get put off or don't be needed, then that further decreases the deficit.
Oh yeah, that would put this at probably about a positive 150,000, 200,000.
So and just, I don't want to oversimplify it, but by doing this for the bond rating, we're just actually doing what we do every year, except we're just fast forwarding it
Yes,
Right.
ahead
Right.
and hoping that our assumptions, as always.
this is the part, this is the craft, if you will. If you want to ask kind of how we are artists, but not being creative, this is not being creative, this is looking at trends and saying, okay, here, we're going to mitigate risk, but yet there is a risk. Just like with the athletic complex, we're going to try to do this, but we couldn't raise as much money, but we knew we had that. So the reality of it is that could happen. We don't believe it. We have, leadership, we've been here for, 8 years, and we've been working and looking at what we're doing. It's kind of like, do we want our product to continue to be what it is and grow? And with Adam Broughton here, once we get our achievement growth to be where it needs to be, and he knows that's his job to help support that, that's the only thing that's lagging right now. And we're actually seeing it in almost every subclass on growth. So this would be to invest and keep it going.
And in my 23 years or whatever it is, we've always budgeted this way, and it's always worked out. I don't recall any year where we really blew it and we were in trouble. So I think it's relatively safe that it's going to happen again this year. But with the understanding that you never know for sure, I guess, and that makes me a little bit more nervous being a business person.
Oh, she struggles with this big time. She stood at my desk for a good hour, and I'm like, don't you have something to do? Well, Aaron. And then we go over some more things over and over. And I think that's great that we have that content, like this right here. Originally, we had this at about 8%. I really think, and a big part's going to be, what is our experience? What is our experience right now? But I really believe that if we have decent experience, we go out to bid, we get an in-house clinic somewhere that helps even drive more work in one area that doesn't even become part of your claims, I think that we could get that even less than 9. Don't know.
I'm doing that math in my head.
Yeah, so that's 8, and I said 8%, we actually had 8%, Maria said, so we went to 9. So, you look at that, you look at active HRA, this could be lower or higher, this could be lower or higher. These right here, I would have no problem going to which I'm going to is, once we talk about salary increases, saying we're staying with the same insurance through the end of the year. If things get difficult, if things change, we could be doing this, starting July or January 1. And if we do this January 1, that gives people time to put more in their flex spend and be able to plan for that, because the deductible starts on January 1 also. So we want to do everything we can to keep that up, because remember, insurance is something that, as a district, if we pay that for employees, there's actually less cost. The big thing is utilization and wellness. If we see our utilization and wellness go up, or if we utilize more, or claims a claim, we got issues. So the better we use our health care, the better we keep our claims with that. We've been doing a really good job. So want to be able to reward that.
So my question then is, if you're comfortable with me budgeting more trend-like, right now, it's not. I have everything entered in the budget with the 521,000, but I haven't changed it yet because I want to get your take on it. And then that's what we would, when we have our rating call in early June, I would go with the 115,000. And that could change too.
Right, and with the budget, the governor's budget, that could change. There's so many things that could change.
And then in October, of course, everything will change, because we'll know, we'll have our third-party account, we'll know what our aid is, we'll have all those answers, and then we'll adjust again. But between now and June, we just need to decide how we're going to proceed.
I would be comfortable with it, because that better bond rating is going to save us money over 20 years as well, right?
You're just saying,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay, because you calculate it out, but that.
well, but that
is
doesn't
significant.
say, okay, and numbers for the psychologist, okay, go with this assumption.
And we're not out of the ballpark. It's not like we're never doing something. This is our trend.
And they're still relatively conservative
Mhm.
things you're doing. It's not.
And a good track record over the years is, with this formula has been very successful. So I don't have any heartburn.
We'll just sweat it out later. Don't worry about it. Take care of it.
Yeah. Well, you won't put it out, she will. We'll be back.
Yeah, she's be fine.
I drive by 11 o'clock and see her later.
All right, so just to roll it in, we're looking at significant deficit the next year, what, about $800,000?
18, 19, if I budget conservative, or not conservatively, if I continue this trend-like budgeting for 18, 19, right now it's looking like $400,000 deficit. That's with categorical aid increase, another $204 per pupil, that's in the governor's budget right now. That is a 10% increase in health insurance premiums again, that's for 2019. That's a 3% average salary increase for staff. That's flat enrollment. And that would bring us down to about a 16% fund balance. So, you know,
That's way-
if that happens, but we're a long ways from being able to predict 18, 19. I'll know more once the governor's budget is out. But that's just a very first one.
And then, really quick, and then I know that we need to move into our regular meeting. We have time for this. We'll explain this a little bit more probably in May. But one of the things when we look at our bond, our mill rate's gonna go up, we actually had some pretty good news. That came in and would only go up about 12 cents. Okay? Now, looking forward, where we want to set our levy, looking forward, so instead of, first it was 43 cents, then it was 26 cents, it actually came in about 12, 13 cents. What we're talking with Mike Clark, because of these numbers and what we're looking at, and because our costs are going up more than their aid and what we're getting from our ability to go and get resources, is that if we keep it at the 25 cent, which we did broadcast and publish, then our mill rate for this year would go up 25 cents. The next year would stay at that 25 cents. And then in 1920, actually what would happen is it would drop 34 cents. So it would actually be lower than what it is now for a mill rate. And because of this, there's two-phase borrowing. We would over levy, kind of what we have done before, in order to make that and then drop that levy off. So what would happen is that in 1920, there actually would be room, kind of like when we had debt fall off, we would have 34 cents of a drop that if we wanted to, and we looked at going to short-term borrowing, we would be able to short-term borrow and it wouldn't impact taxpayers as much. There's a lot more to tell you about that, but what it is these are things that we have to start talking about now, just like how we over-levied, which gave us the ability to borrow $29.5 million and only increasing our levy at about 13 or 25 cents now. So these are other things that we can look financially at, being honest, being good stewards of resources to kind of plan ahead. That just how we had this referendum, or just as we move forward and look at different things, by the time it happens, it's like, well, we've talked about this quite a bit. So the only way I think we can ever do this operational referendum and do it in a way that's palatable is communication, using the money that we're using well, and then also having to have limited impact on the taxpayer. In order to do that, we have to start planning now, without knowing these.
What an operational referendum is a referendum to exceed our revenue limit. So it doesn't have anything to do with building, it would just.
Right. So it'd be like operational referendum to exceed the revenue limit for $400,000 over 4 years, or for 4 years. So whatever that $400,000 each year would cost, which then that's why we have to look at this forecast. We will not make a decision about this until this time next year. And at this time next year, we're going to be building, we're going to be communicating, and we're going to start seeing trends of enrollment and all different things and see if we even need it. But I just want to put it out there that we've been able to do a lot of things without having to look at this. But once again, it's all about what product we want to provide for our community. So a lot more to come on this. So, but I just want you to be aware that there's a lot of planning, just like we sat with Mike Clark 3 years ago from Baird, and then all of a sudden we're in this great place. We sat with Matt and Clint 2.5 years ago with Bray. It's all about just pragmatism. So I just want to make sure that, as they say, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. It'll take a little bit of time, but I want everybody to be aware and maybe even get different ideas and be creative and find out how we can best utilize resources. So this is something that we'll talk about later on where we look at projected surplus deficit, fund balance, what that would look like. Would this then necessitate, because our fund balance would be dropping? If not, then we'd have to start looking at a 2-year plan to start cutting costs, which could be salaries and different things like that. So there's a lot of different flexibility things that we can in here. I just want to have it on your radar, okay? It's like we're going to go to Jamaica in 2 years. It's just, don't get too excited about it. We're just planning about it and talking about it. A loan operational referendum in Jamaica are about 2 of the most different things you can do, but all right.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so are you guys cool? You don't have to take a vote, you'd be voting on each one of these positions and on that, so I just want to kind of get are you comfortable with how we're thinking and what we're doing? All right, thank you.
Do we have to adjourn for this meeting?
Yes.
All right, so that's the conclusion of the special budget meeting, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any second?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education for the School District of North Fond du Lac to order at 7:16. Thank you for your patience while we ran over a little bit on our budget meeting. Roll call, vote, please.
Chisholm.
Yes?
Goldowski, yes. Hawk.
Yes?
Streeter.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
All are present. Important public notice, please, Mr. Sino.
You bet. Public notices and agendas are posted in the district office, US Bank, and the municipal building on Friday, April 21st. And they were also mailed to KFIZ 107.1, WFDL, and also to the reporter, also on Friday, April 21st, 2017.
Thanks, sir. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda is swearing in of our new board member.
You forgot about that, didn't you?
We have it in there? Oh. No, it should be in here.
Where's your signature, Tom?
There it is, right here. All right. All right, here we go.
Do you want to stand up?
In front of the wall?
Before it goes over.
All right, here, can I get a picture of it? Here we go. All right. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I,
I,
Vicki Goldowski,
Goldowski,
who have been duly elected
been duly
to
elected
the Board of Education
to the Board of
of the
Education,
School District of North Fond du Lac,
School District of North Fond du
but
Lac,
have not yet entered
but have not yet entered
upon the duties thereof,
upon the duties thereof,
swear that I
swear that I
will support the Constitution
will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Amen, there she is. Congratulations. Congratulations. And then if you would, right here, we need you to sign that. And then
was a close one, but you made it.
Yeah, it was. That, there's like 5. She
How
didn't get-
embarrassing that would have been.
You
if
got a couple
I went to
write-in
one
votes, I
that's
see.
racing.
Very cool.
I was glad to see I wasn't the only one with that irrational fear though,
I
so.
gotta be elected, but I will.
All right, thank you very much. So next on the agenda, as we do at every election, is election of school board officers. So,
Yeah, what I could do, if you like, Mr. Chisholm, I have not heard anybody that would like for a different office or would like to change, if there is anybody who would like to. Otherwise, you could probably take them as a group.
that would be fine with you. Mike.
Unless Mikey's thinking he wants to be member.
It's like I think I want to be
Unless
president.
Mike wants to be president. Yeah, no, thank you.
And then Melissa treasurer.
Oh, you don't want to be treasurer?
It is, Mike.
It's a really hard job.
It is. So what's the board's pleasure? Handle it as a group or individual offices?
I'm fine with Mike. So if you get somebody who's interested in a different position, then we should, allow you to speak to that.
I'm the only one without one, and I would help out if somebody wanted to, but I don't need one, so I'm good.
All right, well, not hearing a lot of suggestions, then can I entertain a motion that the slate of current officers be maintained for the next year?
I'll make that motion.
Do we do it that way, or do we have to have an actual election?
We could, I'm guessing what we could do is, well, pretty sure, I know we can. If you have a motion, like if Pete would make a motion that I recommend, I motion that Steve, that we keep the same ones. Is there a second? If there's a second, and then we could go all in favor and then all opposed. We could do it like that.
That's fine.
Do you want to name each position though, just so we're clear?
Yep, I think that's a good idea.
Start writing.
So what you could do, Pete, is you can make a motion that you then just state the officers.
All right, so who made the initial motion when I asked for the invitation?
If you
Aye.
did, yeah,
You said it.
Okay, so I'll make the
I said so
motion.
moved.
I'll make the motion that we continue the slate, or that continue the offices that are currently serving through the next year, and that would be myself as president, Steve Hawk as vice president, Mike Streeter as treasurer, Vicki Poldowski as secretary, or clerk, I'm sorry, and a member at large, Melissa.
I'll second.
All right, any further questions or discussion?
Or any other nominations?
Or any other nominations from the floor? Any other nominations from the floor? You have to ask that 3 times. Any other nominations from the floor? All right, so the motion is to continue the slate of, or to continue the officers as they're currently serving for the next year. Roll call vote, please.
Chisholm,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Streeter,
Yes.
Poldowski, yes.
All right, motion carries.
I can tell you, I was holding off on this, but I can tell you some people that are gonna be very excited. It's the business office. The business office could just be giddy, they got the same stamp, they're gonna have the same sign. Didn't want to reveal any of those other perks, because we want people to be where
We
they're
don't
at,
have
so.
to call Skyward and get our checks changed.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for us.
That is awesome.
Who knew?
Who knew? I didn't want to say that, so it wouldn't
We
influence.
don't,
I
yeah.
suspected that.
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right, next on the agenda is approval of minutes. The minutes were distributed in your board package from the last meeting. Any additions or corrections to the minutes that any of the board members have? Hearing none, they'll stand approved as presented. Next on the agenda, item H, treasurer's report, please.
Cash balance on hand, March 20th, 2017, $100,482.08. Receipts, 3/21 through 4/24/2017, $219,102.37. Transfers from investment accounts, $1,300,000. Total receipts, $1,619,634.45. Expenditures, 3/21 through 4/24/17, $1,367,888.08. Total expenditures, $1,367,888.08. Cash balance on hand, April 24th, 2017, $251,746.37. Bills recommended for payment is shown on the attached list dated April 24th, 2017, the amount of $952,443.45. Bills to be approved at the April board meeting. We approved checks, $704,908.58. Board meeting checks, $247,534.87. Total bills to be approved, $952,443.45.
Thank you, Mr. Streeter. Does anyone, board members, have any questions regarding the pre-approvals that were distributed in the amendment package? I did not have any this one. So the board's pleasure on bills to be approved, $952,443.45.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, moving and seconded to approve the bills that are presented to be approved. Roll call vote, please.
Kowalski, yes. Streeter?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Chisholm?
Yes.
Park?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Next is the clerk's report.
I have a few things which I have not gone over yet, so forgive me.
How old are they?
We have, okay, from Keelot's mom's stuff, so a
$20 memorial.
memorial that was sent to them, a thank you from that. Use of the cafe.
Cafeteria over at FLC.
Oh, cafeteria at FLC.
That was Diane Mann and their
Hometown.
Relay for Life. Yeah.
Oh, Hometown Bank Relay, okay, got it.
They make pizzas.
Yep, they do pizzas.
And then a couple more too that I put down right behind it.
Oh. So as you can see, Sherrington Banky and Kimberly Clark, flowers and plants at all the building sites for the referenda stuff, or just?
No, just, well, that was,
Because they're-
normally they do $500 a year,
Oh,
but it would go to wherever their kids were involved in,
oh,
be it,
gotcha.
with Ryan's teachers or maybe Riley in baseball or wrestling, but they still want to do that, so now they want to do to help beautification things.
Cool. And then it looks like a matching from Ken Stefani and his Employer Society Insurance for track and field.
And I have an idea that went towards a pole vault for their pole vaulting European son, Tim. 12 something, he's going to break the school record if we can find a pole big enough. That's what's, the only thing holding him back is the size of the pole.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, all right.
Who would have known?
Anything else then?
I believe not.
All right, thank you very much.
Samantha's up at the high school right now interviewing math. She'll be down later, and at that time, she'll give Paige's report, and Paige is currently playing WLA at
Okay.
the thing, so.
Figured she was doing some.
But prom was good. I didn't get any calls, which was way cool. They went to post-prom up in Oshkosh, a good turnout, so that went really well. And I know that they'll be able to report there's new elections for who's the different leaders of each class, and there's a good blood drive that just got done. So I'm sure there's a plethora of good news coming from the student council.
All right.
And to make it up for Paige, I'll make her come to both the May ones.
Okay, good. She'll be happy about that, I'm sure. All right, next on the agenda, citizens input. I declare the citizens input portion of the meeting open at 7:27. This is a point where anyone who wishes to address the board may do so. So does anyone in the audience wish to address the board at this time? Seeing none? I will close the citizens input portion of the meeting at 7:28. Next on the agenda, item L, superintendent's report.
Thank you. Thank you, President Chisholm. First off, congratulations, Vicki, and thank you for running and representing us. You landslide over 1,000 votes, well done. And also for all of you serving in your positions that you are, and the work that not only you did, but we also have facility committee members here in the crowd. I'm telling you guys, I've gotten so many emails, I got letters in the mail of appreciation of how excited people are for us. Walk around in the different buildings, people are like 71, 68%. This is the kind of vote where people who did vote for it think that I missed something. you know, should I? And one of the things that's gonna be very big is I'm gonna be writing an editorial in the next couple weeks of the paper, thanking the community and how we're gonna, kind of like what I've already said on the radio and in the paper. But this is a big deal. This is really setting ourselves up. It's been planning for 3 years, and I want to thank everybody for all the hard work and dedication that we can really dedicate and take advantage of some awesome opportunities now to invest in the future of our kids. So it was a great teamwork, 68, 71% approval. We followed a good, I think a good playbook, and the time and the patience was huge. So give everybody a round of applause. And just quickly, tomorrow we'll be meeting at 6 o'clock till 8. I think the meeting's gonna be a little sparse. Everybody's kind of busy. I think the spring things are gonna happen. So we have developed a building leadership team. And I'll just show you that really quick, and then we'll get to Matt, kind enough to come from Bray and explain. I'm really excited to learn about this, about the construction manager versus the DBB process. But what we're gonna do now is we have it, we're Bray Project 3190. And one of the things that Clint said that's kind of interesting, I think by when they come in. And Little Chute was actually like I think we're like a lot older. 3294. So Little Chute at a referendum the same time was 104 projects later. So if you want to talk about pragmatism, trying to get all of our ducks in a row, we've done a pretty good job. So we're going to have a design and build team. That's the facility committee will continually every other month we'll meet. Keep them up to date on everything. That's a great group that really worked hard, and they'll be there tomorrow, hopefully a lot of them. And then we have our BLT, and that's going to be our building leadership team. And as you can see, it's me, Dave, Carrie Jo, Debbie, Maria, other administrators as needed, like Sam, Mike, Adam, depending on what we need as far as their buildings or specific learning environments. And then the BRAID team, which is Matt Wolford, Clint Seeley, Allison Mastel, very nice lady, just met her, and then Jean Casey, who we're going to keep engaged with getting out information, communications with our community. So that group, so the facility committee gets all the information, and remember on top of all this is you guys. The bottom line is the board will inherently approve everything when it's all said and done. And then the building leadership team is going to be the ones that'll meet a little bit more, that'll kind of be doing things quite a bit. And then underneath that, and this team's going to start meeting tomorrow, and this is the design team. So this is a group of representatives that will impact building remodeling. They meet periodically. Tour other schools. We have our one tour set up for, I believe it's May 9th. Coming up, average 1 to 2 meetings per month during design and building stages. This might be during team time. This might be after school, before school. And here's who we have. Support staff, we have Kathy Rashid. With the custodians, we have Mary Schultz. Early childhood is going to be Beth Dardis. I don't have that up yet. And then Jen Gilbertson, Katie Strobel, Aaron Luther, Ashley Kreider, Tammy Rademan. 5th grade? Well, I think we're at the time right now where like the majority of them don't know how long they're going to be around anyway. So they're like, I don't know what. So we're going to be okay without a 5th grade representative. They'll be fine. Special ed, we're going to have Tiffany Torres along with Terry Gravy. And then Encore, Heather and Matt will get their input all the time. They'll work together. So this group will meet a little bit more, but this is a group where we'll go and talk, and then they'll talk to their teams, and they'll get the information, okay? The one thing that I want you guys to consider is the whole board will be part in whatever you want to do. I'll post whatever, but if we would have 2 people that would really be into being part of this process more so, a couple things that happen. Number 1, we can meet, and we're not going to be deciding, we won't have a quorum. So if we have 2 board members on this, these are ones that we can, I would post, but we might see more frequent meetings where we would start to look and make, not decisions except for the board to have to approve them, but also might kind of share the burden a little bit where everybody doesn't feel they have to be there, unless everybody wants to. And this is something that when we look at the, when you look at how you're going to assign different committees, this might be, we're all part of the facility committee, which I say we should keep. And then this might be another committee that would ask for a little bit more. What do you guys think?
Sure.
I do love to be on it.
I do it too, but it doesn't.
And if there could be more than 2. If there's more than 2, I couldn't care less.
Well, I was going to ask about there too. There's 2 on there, but any, I know the Attorney General opinions have changed, been moved on or changed and gone back and forth a little bit, but My understanding is that all of these committees should be posted,
Yeah.
you know, from the last opinion, and, you know, and if we wanna, even if it isn't legally following the opinion, just for appearances.
Yeah. Let me go back and take back what I said about why. The main reason is that you could disperse the need for everybody to be there. But if you want to be there, I think it's kind of exciting. So we can post them. It's not a big deal. We'll post our bus ride. We'll post anything. I'm cool with posting.
Yeah,
Way cool.
yeah, I think that just, or at least maybe check with.
No, I agree with you 100%. Transparency, even if nobody shows up, the community should know when we're meeting and what we're doing. Agree 100%.
And then obviously this is a bigger point of interest in the community than the typical stuff we do, so.
I agree with you 100%.
All right.
So then you guys just, you're on? Who else
I'll
wants to
do
be?
it.
Anybody else? Vicky, cool.
I saw 2 cheerful volunteers, as I remember.
Well, I mean, if there isn't more, I mean, I still post them all the time, but Melissa, Mike, you guys good?
Good.
Give the input, you'll still get everything. You'll still get emailed everything, all that stuff. But then, Vicky, then if you could you make the bus trip?
I think so. Is that on Tuesday or Thursday?
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep, and you can make that?
Yep, I cleared things.
Whoa, all right. I'm just gonna stop while I'm ahead there. All right, and then what I'll do is I'll get the timeline updated. I worked with Clint a little bit. I'll get this tomorrow more. You'll see me after the 9th, the bus tour. But we'll have this kind of designed all the way through next April with how much percentage of the plan should be done, when we're gonna go out. So you'll have everything, and then we'll start putting in specific dates for meetings too. So that's where we're at. It's pretty exciting. Yeah, all right. So now I want to turn it over to Matt Wolford. Matt is one of our representatives, one of the owners of Bray, who's our partner and has been since we did our facilities meeting. And we have a nice handout here. As I was talking about the process now we start, this is what's so exciting. We never want to deal with hypotheticals. First we went to find out what our buildings were like. We kind of did an inventory. Then we went to survey. After survey, we went to referendum. Now we're going to plan, design, and build. There's different ways you can do that. And as I was talking to Clint and Matt earlier, I have no idea. And then I said, what do you guys think? You're our consultants. They said, what do you want? Because it just sounds like there's just positives and negatives to everything. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Matt, and you bet.
Great to be back again. As Aaron said, congratulations, what an exciting time. We're gonna make, I think, tens of thousands of decisions together in the year ahead, and as overwhelming as that sounds, it's pretty exciting. And not many people get to be part of making such a significant investment that'll impact generations of students ahead, so pretty exciting times. As Aaron said, I wanted to give you a little bit of kind of construction 101, I guess I'll call it. You as a school district, unlike other municipal entities, have pretty much complete flexibility to deliver a construction project however you see fit and however is in the best interest of the school district. Counties, villages, towns, cities, they don't have that flexibility. There's more restrictions on how they deliver projects. That doesn't mean you would just you wouldn't bid anything, you would give it to somebody. I mean, you're still responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. So what I'm going to do tonight, and I'm definitely not going to go through every page of this. My goal was to give you some background, give you an understanding of how this works, go through kind of how each process would look, how we would go through selecting a partner in either delivery model, and then allow you to obviously ask questions and you can go from there. So page 1 of the book is probably the most important one because it gives you a little background on how construction contracts are organized. And I guess I should have even before I get started. How many of you have been through this process before? And Steve, you have a number of times, right?
We just did one.
For the high school project? Yeah, so that would have been design build, I think, back then. So it's not even one of the options on here, but because you have one contract with Hoffman and...
Right, well, yeah, let's keep going.
Okay,
I think
all right.
you're right, though.
Okay. So the options that we're going to talk about this evening are design, bid, build, so the top diagram. In that scenario, you hold a contract, so the solid lines are contracts. You'll hold a contract with us, which is in place, and we will hold all the contracts with the engineers, civil, structural, electrical, etc. So you have one point of risk or one point of responsibility with Bray. We have all the engineers. Same thing would happen with your builder or general contractor. You hold one contract with them, and they would hold all of the subcontracts. It's how you go about selecting that construction partner that is the question. So in this scenario, design, bid, build, we would prepare plans, prepare specifications, the drawings would be 100% complete, specifications would be done, we'd send it out on the street, we would get bids back, and you'd open the envelopes, and the low bidder is likely who you would award it to. Then technically it can be lowest responsible bidder, but we'll talk a little bit about why.
That's what we did with
Okay.
Hoffman. We
Okay.
did do open bids and we,
Okay.
the board chose subcontractors.
Gotcha. Okay, so that'll, and that's what's hard about this, is these look really similar, they just come, they'll feel a little bit different on how they're delivered, so that's why I want to explain these a little bit. The next two options are versions of construction management or negotiated general contractor. Sometimes you'll hear it called both. I will say the bottom is an option you could go with, construction management agency. But what that does is it puts you as a school district holding all of the subcontracts. I only put it on here because it's an option. I'll be honest, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're, the state of Wisconsin, for example, is okay with this because they've got an office building in Madison full of architects, engineers, and construction people whose job it is to manage these projects every day. You don't have that. You have a district to run, and so I think you probably want less risk and you want more support from that partner. And so what we're really, I think, talking about is option one, design, bid, build, or the middle option of negotiated general contractor or construction management at risk. So how that looks is it really doesn't, as you can tell, it doesn't look a whole lot different than design, bid, build in terms of the contractual relationship. But what is different is how you select that partner. So when I said design, bid, build, we would draw the plans, specifications, we would take bids, and whoever's low is low, you would award to that general contractor. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that when you select your construction manager in option two. Option two, you would select your construction manager, I would think, relatively soon. You would select them as a partner that would be involved in the project all the way along, and they would still bid out all of the project, and they would come back to you and say, here are the concrete bids, and the carpentry bids, and the masonry bids, and the painting bids, and they would go through all those bids with you. And in the end, you're gonna most likely award to all of the lowest responsible bidders for those categories, unless there's an anomaly. And it's their job to identify that and work with you. So what I'll talk a little bit about on the two tabs is just how the process would look if you were to go either route and what it would look like. So page 2 of the book you have in front of you, if there's two ways, so this is design, bid, build. So this is the first model. There's two ways to handle this. One, we could literally do the drawings and just send it out, I'll exaggerate on purpose to make the point, to the world. And you could get bidders from California that would want to bid and be your general contractor. They're not going to bid, quite frankly, but that you would be open to that potential that you could get bidders from anywhere, and you could get bidders large and small. Some arguably may not have the resources to do the project. It's an option, but if we would elect as a board to go this route, what we would recommend is use a process called pre-qualification.
Thank you.
Where we would work with you to pre-qualify the bidders. You would be able to meet them, you would be able to know if they have the capabilities, you'd be able to know if they have the size and the resources, that they've done K-12 school projects in an occupied building where we're gonna have kids going to school here and we're building right next to them. So you can still get that level of comfort. But you would, in the end, pre-qualify them, and then only, let's say, 3, 4, or 5 of them would be allowed, and you would open the envelopes, and whoever's low is low, and you would award the contract to that pre-qualified bidder. So I'll briefly kind of touch on that process. So page 3, if you elect to go the route of design, bid, build, and you want us to pre-qualify contractors with you, what we would do is put an ad for bid together. So page 3, and none of this is customized for North Fond du Lac at this point. I didn't want to do all the paperwork, not knowing which way you were going to go. So these are just representative examples from other districts. And so again, you elect to go a route, and then Clint and I will get going on getting this process moving for you. But page 3 is an example of an ad for bids. This is basically saying, we, the school district of North Fond du Lac, are going to pre-qualify general contractors. If you're interested, contact Bray. This would go in the construction trades newspaper called the Daily Reporter, and then we would also want to put in all of your local publications to make sure that people are interested. If you have people you know of already that are interested, we would want to send this directly to them. They would then get, if they call us and say they're interested, they would then get pages 4, 5, and 6. That's the request for pre-qualification document that we would send out. In general, the keys are on page 5 and 6 under components of statement of qualification. We're really asking for their background, how long have they been in business, provide, so you as a public entity have to provide a bond for this project. That is a statutory requirement. So we want to make sure that they have the capability to bond the project. We're going to ask them for proof of insurance. So it's really a proof of K-12 experience, if they've been through this before. I'll say it's generally kind of soft information about a firm, but it also has some real information. We need to know if they can issue a bond, we need to know if they can insure a project.
That was the issue with some of the school districts with a past company that just read about that information. If they had not bonded, how things worked.
Yep, there's a lot of subtlety within how bonds work, and you're going to need a little legal advice there. But in general, this is the phase where we just make sure they have the general qualifications, and then they have some of the technical qualifications that you would want in any partner you would want to pre-qualify. So after that, let's say, and again, I'm making this up, let's say we get 10 people that submit a statement of qualifications. We'll get together, you'll say 3, 4, or 5 of these entities look like they're very capable to be pre-qualified to bid on the project. We would then notify them that they're pre-qualified. Next, late winter, early spring, when bid drawings are ready to go, and we would only send those drawings to the pre-qualified general contractors. Those would be the only ones that you as a district would be accepting bids from. They're going to take the job and go out to the market. They're going to go to every subcontractor imaginable, because most of them at most do concrete carpentry, masonry, steel erection type of work. They don't do painting, they don't do HVAC, they don't do electrical, they surely don't supply gym floors or bleachers. So that's all stuff that they would go bid on your behalf. Now granted, our specifications are going to control the quality and type of bidding that they're doing, but again, they're going to be doing that bidding for you. Page 7 is an example of what we would get back when we get all the bids in. This is an example from La Crosse where we use this process. There's 5 local general contractors that they deemed that were qualified. We took bids from them. What's in it is not overly critical, but as you can see, just a lot of numbers tabulating the bid. I'm going to breeze through these next pages because they're not all that interesting, but
They're pretty close.
Yeah, we love it when they're close because that tells us that they were all bidding on the same set of drawings, and we think the drawings are pretty good. That's usually a good sign. If there's big swings, it can mean that there's a discrepancy in the drawings. It usually just means that somebody was only sort of interested. You know, they were only going to do it if their markup was higher or they didn't have the personnel available. Page 8, 9, 10.
Okay, just a quick
Oh,
question.
absolutely.
In this particular process, then, are you required, if you're pre-qualifying, to take the lowest bid, or is there some subjective play in there with quality perhaps, or, you know?
There's always subjectivity there. You can pre-qualify and then select the lowest qualified bidder. I would hope that we would get to that before we would even pre-qualify them, because quite frankly, they do put a lot of time and effort into preparing a bid. So I would hope if we're going to go that route, we would be pretty comfortable with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Whoever is low is low. Now, obviously, if something significant changes between the time you pre-qualify them and the time the bids come in, I would say, yeah, you obviously have the ability to look at that again. But in general, I think you want to, if at all possible, not put yourself in that position. Pages 8, 9, 10, these are just bid forms. But what I wanted to see is we don't allow them just to submit a bid with a lump sum number. We don't know much more about it. So the first pages, we're going to get a simple breakdown on page 8 of how their bid is summarized among some of the major categories. What we then do, and this will be determined by how many alternate bids we have. So if anybody's ever been through a project like this before, alternate bids is a strategy many clients will use to say, you know, we're not sure if we can afford to, and again, I'm going to make this up, replace all the flooring in every classroom throughout the building, or gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could go with rubber flooring instead of a different kind of flooring, because it would mean we don't have to strip and wax it as often. But we're not sure if we can afford it. So it's called an alternate bid. You have a base component, and then you ask for the alternate pricing associated with something. So we write this descriptive language, and the contractors submit bids to us based on that. That's what all of these additional ones here. This is more than I would recommend having. This was La Crosse. We had some anxiety over the budget there, quite frankly, and so that's why we had more alternate bids than I would typically recommend. The next piece is a little unique to us, and I will tell you that contractors don't like it, but we think it's in your best interest to do anyway. It's pages 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We asked them to provide a little more detail, break down the bid they submitted by major category of work. We do that for a number of reasons. One, we want to know kind of how did local bidders do. That's probably the main reason we do it. We want to know how the local painter did. We want to be able to go back and say, you know, in reality, we realized that the painter from Wausau was $1,000 lower. And when you're submitting a competitive bid like this, you take every advantage you can, even if it's just $1,000 on millions of dollars. Because if you're not low, you may not get the job. But I think as many owners want to know, they want to know if they may be willing to spend $1,000 more, for example, to have the painter from somewhere in Fond du Lac County do the work. Because they have residence here and they pay taxes here. So that's why we do this document. The other piece, the other positive about it is when you get a local who did submit a bid and said, they didn't take my bid seriously, how come I didn't get considered? You have the ability to go through and say, you know, we were hoping you were going to get it, but you were $300,000 higher than the low bidder. Obviously, there's no way we can spend $300,000 more. So this document does a lot of that for you. It also allows us to talk to the public pretty quickly about local involvement. So the final document, which is pages 25 through 27, really 26, is just a summary to the board that was presented. And I think on page 26, the key there is in this case, about 75% of their work was awarded to local suppliers and contractors, which is great. I mean, and again, they didn't do anything to manipulate that. That was just how the bidding process played out there. But that's a great sign. They were able to spend 75% of their dollars, in their case, across county.
So again, when we choose the one, if we do this one, and we choose that one, we get their subs that we don't get involved in picking which sub of theirs should be doing it.
Correct.
Other than what you just talked about.
Correct. You can, after the fact, if you want, go in and suggest or ask if they can, but the reality is, I think, in the end, they have to bid with the lowest bidder that they have in hand at the time bids are due. Because if they don't, they may lose the job by a couple $1,000s.
Okay, so then I guess we are different than last time.
Yeah, I think you're a little more like.
We actually, the masonry or whatever, we actually picked which one was going to be used, and Hoffman recommended or whatever. So that's a little bit different.
It is a little different, I agree with you. It's,
Looks like you might have done this down here.
did you hold all the subcontracts? That's the only, in option 2, you still would have the same control that Steve's talking about though, that you will sit down with the construction manager and they'll explain, here are the 4 bids we got for trade A or category B. They're going to say the lowest bidder to us appears to be Bob's Masonry, and you're going to say, okay, yep.
I don't know about holding the contract part, but I do remember though Hoffman presenting all these sub bids and then on their recommendation and what we talked about, we picked the actual subcontractor.
Sure. Yep, and that would be an option. We can do it in the first option. It's pretty cumbersome. I wouldn't recommend it. If that's a goal you have for going through the process, then option B, construction manager, is a better route to take.
So in option 1, we're entrusting the builder just to make those decisions for us in our best interest.
Yep,
We
and
don't
well,
know how to say it.
correct, but I will say most likely you're not going to have different low bidders. The only time it does come up is every once in a while you'll see that, and it's really more the local piece of it, that, you know, the second place person just was close, but they weren't low. In the end, though, most of the time, it's difficult, especially when sitting in your shoes, even if you have a local, and again, I'll use an extreme on purpose. If somebody's $100,000 more expensive than the low bidder is, even in the second delivery model option, when they lay the numbers out there, you have to decide as a board, do you want to spend $100,000? You sure can. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. But that's also kind of a tough spot to be put in. So option 2 is construction management, and again, back to that original chart, construction manager at risk is what we would call it. At risk means that they're going to hold all of those subcontracts. So they have the risk associated with any of those entities going out of business or not performing. You're not holding that contract, they are. So that's where that at-risk terminology has come from. This process will look very similar. And some people will say, why would you use this process? Why wouldn't you just bid it? That's what's been done forever. It's traditional. If you know you're going to get the lowest cost. This process, construction management, is used often when you have, I'll say, messy construction projects. So something, again, like adding on to a school while you're remodeling. I do think yours is pretty clean because we're going to add on, move kids in, and go back and remodel. So I wouldn't be too swayed by that. Other times, quite frankly, politics. We may have a large local contractor that you want to have on your job. They employ a lot of people in your area, they have a lot of students that go to your school district, and they do this kind of work. I'll give you an example, Janesville School District, for example. There's really one major general contractor in Janesville. J.P. Cullen is the name of them. That school district naturally, for political reasons, goes to J.P. Cullen, and J.P. Cullen is hired to manage their process. That politics is one reason that people use this approach. So the construction management process, it's going to look very similar, so I'll kind of breeze through it a little bit. First phase would be an ad for bids, page 29. Again, it looks very similar, just the terminology and the language of what we're asking for is different, right? We're asking for a construction management proposal, not a pre-qualification to be a bidder. So that's really the only difference there.
Now, one thing too, Matt, this is, so Mayville's using this process.
They are, yeah.
Because this is what Mayville has utilized, that example. What they did before they even went to referendum, they already had a construction manager.
Correct. Yep. Page 30, 31, and 32, again, this should look very familiar. This is the same similar document. We're going to ask for qualifications, we're going to ask for experience. The one thing that's a little different in this one, you'll note on page 31, is that self-performance of work. That's a big deal. That's a huge area that a lot of Wisconsin-based general contractors and construction managers are interested in. They want to do, as I said before, concrete, carpentry, masonry, some of them steel erection, some of them precast erection. The question every time we go with construction management is we have two strategies we can use. You as a board can say, we'll just allow them to do that work, one option. Or you can say, we are going to allow them to do none of the work. They're only going to be managing the process. They cannot bid on any work. Or the hybrid option, which I'll be honest, most clients do, is we will allow them to bid on the work, but any category of work that they want to self-perform, those bids have to be submitted to the school district. So if you have Joe's Masonry who wants to bid against the general contractor, Bob, who is also a mason, you don't have two competitors, one competitor submitting a bid to another competitor. They just don't feel like they're going to be treated fairly. They just assume that that envelope's going to be opened and whatever the number is, if Bob wasn't lower, they're just going to lower their number. They're not going to get the work anyway. So if you want to allow self-performance, we found it works pretty well. You just receive any bids on categories that they want to take, that they want to self-perform on, and then you literally drive in and open the envelopes with them, and whoever's low's low. So, but self-performance is a big piece of the equation. And I'll tell you a little story about why it is in a minute. So again, if you elect to go this route, we'll advertise. Interested vendors will send a request for qualifications to. We'll then get together and we'll create a short list. So we're going to look at all the qualification statements. Again, let's say we get 10, we'll shortlist to 3 or 4 potential partners that you want to bring in an interview. So page 33, 34, 35 is an example of an invitation to interview. They're going to come in, present to the board on a given night of the week. We're going to ask them to talk about a number of different options, a number of different topics, warranty, list goes on and on. But again, so far, we haven't talked at all about price, right? I mean, what we're really doing is we'd be hiring a construction manager to provide a professional service, not to pour concrete or to erect steel. Because again, we're going to bid all of those trades. So the next couple pages, these full fold-out pages, 36 and 37, this is an example, and yours would be a little simpler because this had a bunch of pre-referendum stuff in it that you don't have to worry about here, thank goodness. Contractors make money in a lot of different ways. When you're bidding the job, so if we go option 1, you really don't know how they're making money. You don't know how much money they're making. And to a certain extent, you don't really care because they were the lowest bidder, and so you assume you were going to pay the lowest price. Whether they had a higher margin or a lower margin doesn't really matter to you because you're paying the lowest price.
They stay to our budget.
Correct. If you're hiring a professional service provider like a construction manager, we have to try to get a sense of where their costs are going to be. So there's a number of things we ask for. The line items up top here, if you can, on page 36. Line item 4, line item 5, line item 6, 7, 8, 6, 6 and 7, that's really the area where we would be asking for percentage fees. So what is their fee based on, if the project is $20 million, what is their percentage fee? They're gonna give us a percentage. We're gonna ask them what their bond rate is, how much of a percentage, or how do you calculate the cost of that bond? Again, before, remember, so we have to provide that. What is the cost for that? What is the cost for insurance? So we're gonna ask for those things. That's usually, you can start there, and it's oftentimes somebody's gonna say, my fee was 2%. And somebody say, well, I just wanna go with the low fee. The reality is, some people charge twice as much for a bond. Some people charge more for insurance. So we have to make sure we look at all three of those. The next thing we have to do is look at all of the other categories of work that are called general conditions. So general conditions in a construction contract, and again, I will not go through every detail here. The biggest category are personnel. How much are they going to charge you for an on-site superintendent, full-time person for a year or more to be on-site running that job every day? How much are they going to charge you for that? Again, in the other option, in the option 1, you are paying for that. They don't throw that in for free, right? That's a pretty competent person to run a job of this complexity. But the reality is you just didn't know what you were paying. So here we really are establishing how much does it cost for a superintendent? How much does it cost for a project manager, assistant project manager, et cetera, et cetera? How many of these people are they including in their fee up above? So again, this you'll rely heavily on us to help you understand, if we go this route, exactly where these dollars are and how they compare. Same thing, job trailer. All of the stuff you see here are things that you are going to pay for, regardless of what delivery model you use. It's just whether you just get them as part of a bid, or whether you're negotiating them, which is where that term negotiated general contractor comes from, or you're agreeing to them to a certain extent upfront with your construction management partner. The part about this that's interesting is, again, I think a lot of people tend to gravitate to the lowest percentage fee. You know, Joe's construction was 1.5%, but Jane's construction may be 2%. But you know what? Jane may be a little more expensive, but they may have a really experienced on-site superintendent. If you've ever been through this, in my opinion, that's really the most, hands down, the most important position in this entire project. I wouldn't say that if all my architects were in the room, because they think they're the most important, but to make a project go smoothly and to be successful, the on-site superintendent is the most important person.
I would say for when we did the athletic complex, when we had Luke from Brettler, with his ability to be there to say, you know what, that blacktop is an eighth too high on the outside, you gotta get that down and be able to manage those things. The value came from having, because I remember we talked, should we have it on site or not have it on site? We decided to have Luke run that, and that was, I would agree, hands down. But you get what you pay for, and you get savings in other ways. Like some of the things we're noticing now might not have, or might have been done different if there's a different superintendent.
So you may elect, after going through this, you may not hire the firm that's I'll say the cheapest on paper, because they may have more local participation, they may have a stronger on-site superintendent, whatever reason may be. But in the end, you kind of get to the end of this all, and there's just some sample questions on page 38. You as a board would be making a decision on who your construction manager is based on who you're most comfortable with, quite frankly, and who's most qualified, with cost as a component. You're not bidding that cost. You can't just take the cost and line them up one next to another and say that's the cheapest. Because quite frankly, it just doesn't work that way. And the story I alluded to before about self-perform work is we had a project like this, and one of the construction managers came in and said, I'll do the job for free. I won't charge you anything. That whole form you just gave me is all zeros, as long as I can self-perform all the work that I want to self-perform and I don't have to bid it. Point being, there's a lot of ways that contractors make money, so you just have to be very careful and very upfront about it. And then you have to hire a construction manager you trust. That's going to be critically important. So did that help at all? Because there's just a ton of nuance here, and it's a pretty complex topic, so I apologize.
I have two questions. One with, you said, I think the difference between 1 and 2, you talked about 3 things, and I caught bonds and I didn't know what the other 2 were.
Sure. In the end, we're gonna have to bond the project either way. You have to have a payment and performance bond, is a legal requirement. And what that's protecting you against is if, in this case, the general contractor or the construction manager would go out of business halfway through the project, you have an insurance policy that ensures that you and the public get to finish that project for the price you were committed to pay. So it's really an insurance policy. I in 20 years haven't had a bond pulled on anybody, but it's statutorily required, and there's value there, because if somebody would go out of business, that would really put you in a tough spot. So that has to happen either way. Insurance is the other one. And again, you're gonna dictate the insurance terms. A bigger company might potentially have that insurance, and it may be pretty easy for them to get. A smaller company may not have the limits you're looking for, and they may just have to pay more for it. So that's why we wanna make sure we get that information up front, so you understand what those costs are.
They're getting pre-approved for that bond, is what you're saying, that's what they're showing us, and they're showing us how much they can assure us.
Exactly.
That's what you're explaining, right? Okay.
So they will have to issue a bond for the contracted amount. So again, if the contract amount is $20 million, they have to issue a bond for that dollar. Yep, and what we ask them to do is they have to provide a letter from their bonding company within the last 30 days. One with pre-qualifying them that says they can get that bond, but then when they actually submit a bid, they actually have to provide that bond. So there's a bid bond and a payment performance bond, it's kind of messy. But again, that's what we're gonna help you through.
No James bond.
No James bond. No, not yet.
And the other question was, well, and I don't want to assume anything, but wouldn't, I mean, to me, it's obvious that we would want as many local people to sub as possible. Is that something, so it's not automatically going to happen unless, and can we say we want as many local people as possible? I mean, is that something that you say, or you don't say that, or you?
You can, it's very hard to control though, because we'd have to set some sort of parameter for them on kind of, what does local mean? Does local mean that the business is based in Fond du Lac County? Does that mean now that you arguably could have the president of a large construction company that lives in the North Fond du Lac School District, but his company is based in Oshkosh or is based in, who knows, pick somewhere that's just out of the county, but you still want to give a chance because they're a great local supporter. So that's always where I struggle a little bit with local. Quite frankly, it's easy when you go to Anago, you say, okay, there's nobody really local, so if you're in Langland County, you're local. That's easy, but it gets really hard when we get into these more urbanized areas, that it's really kind of hard to draw that line of what does that mean. I will be honest, I mean, you do have one local construction manager that is large and significant and does K-12 schoolwork. C.D. Smith is the local firm that does a lot of this work. That's one way to ensure that you have a lot of local involvement, at least at the management level, would be to pick a local construction manager to be your partner. And there may be some others that I'm not aware of, to be honest. Smith's the one that comes to mind, because they do a lot of K-12 work, but
And that would be option 2, not 1?
they would be option 2. They would probably be one you would want to pre-qualify for option 1, but there's no way you're gonna guarantee that they're getting the work. You could go the route of 2 and have pre-selected them as being your construction manager.
Contractors will do both ways if they want to build a building. They act like C.D. Smith again, I know, construction manager, but if we decided to go the other way, we could hire them as a general contractor. They'd still have an on-site superintendent and all that, the whole tier.
Are you done with your questions? Do we run the risk with option 2 of potentially going over budget when you're doing all of those things individually?
No.
That was my...
In the end, and I think that's the best thing to know, is this project won't be over budget. The amount of money that the voters have approved is the maximum amount that you can borrow. Yes, there'll be probably a few dollars from interest earnings that'll occur. There'll be some focus on energy dollars that'll come along. So the project may, if you as a board elected, may be slightly more, but you're not going to borrow $1 more than you were legally allowed to borrow. And so I think there's a common misperception that public projects go over budget. School referendums can't go over budget. You don't have money laying around. I will say with Mr. Kohler and Kohler Company, he can go over budget because he just decides he wants to go over, but you don't have the ability to do that. And so in the end, these projects are gonna end up, we're not gonna spend more than we have available.
Let me ask you, Matt, sounds like the second option, you get more transparency. As far as like.
It's a little closer to what Steve was describing.
So
When those bids are open, you go through with them. Yep.
Right, so like, let's say we go with, let's say, construction manager A. So they get hired, and not only transparency for bids, but also how much are we paying for your superintendent, how much are we paying for this? So we know it's not just all this stuff lumped together, we know what they're getting, so they have to itemize that. And then what we also do is flooring, let's just say flooring. They're gonna come and say, hey, here are the 3 flooring companies that bid, here's what they are. We're thinking of this, what do you think? And then also, let's say like, what's one thing CD Smith does?
Masonry.
Okay, so let's say masonry. So then the construction manager, and just hypothetically, if we would go with the route of CD Smith or whoever else, we would say may bid, but those bids come to us. So then they would put in a bid for construction or for concrete. Somebody else could put in a bid for concrete. So they'd be the construction manager, and they might not even have their own people doing some of the construction. And they're aware of that, and that's happened.
We have to, I think that's why we have to be very transparent and upfront with them, that they don't base their fee on assuming they're gonna get self-perform work. So I think that's why we just have to be very clear upfront of how the board wants that self-perform work to be handled.
So would you say that the first one, it's design it, bid it out, you're gone, you pay them X amount of money, they worry about everything else. We could have some input, but the reality of it is we're hiring them. They're taking care of it, and that's not, we pre-qualify, but we're not even doing that until January.
We would do that, 3-4 months before the project was done, just so they know they are gonna have that opportunity. I think we have a little less control over personnel there. You wouldn't have as much direct control over who your superintendent was, who your project manager was. Through the construction management option, you obviously meet them at an interview and you decide if you feel comfortable working with them. And they would be part of the team from right after they're hired, obviously through completion and closeout of the project.
So if we want to know more of where our dollars are going, the construction manager is the route.
We can get to it both ways, but it is easier to get to it in the second option, yes.
But how important is that? It's gonna cost either way to have a trailer on site and without all that list of things. Is it important to know what the breakdown is of each of those?
No.
Their final price is still the final price.
Right.
Agreed. Yeah, as I said before, it's one you know, the other you have no idea, but you also don't really care because you know that they're and you know they're the lowest bid, right? So.
And they're assuming the risk if something happens with that contractor, not us, right?
In both scenarios.
Right.
Yep.
Just in doing a little bit of reading and just from some of my insurance experience, the design build is the most popular, typically, or has been over time, right? Like, I think they were about 60% of project, where the other ones all in the teens that add up to 100, so. But that's just because that's the way it always was done, way back when, but.
There's been a shift.
Okay, and you must work with, either of these, or there's, 3 or 4 other versions to that, thinking about that. So, can I ask, do you have a preference from your perspective as the architects, engineers, designers, does it work better one way or the other?
I have to say, I don't think we really do have a preference either way. I will say, selfishly, if you hire a construction manager, we kind of say, budget's your responsibility. You worry about the budget. Now, obviously, we worry about it if it's not on budget, but we're not doing, actually, in our office, the budget updates on a regular basis. That becomes the main role of the construction manager during the design process, is to be monitoring and tracking and checking those budgets. So it is maybe a little easier for us that way. I guess in this scenario, if local is really important, I would say there might be value of considering construction management if you want to have that local partner. And I'm not suggesting you should have that. If we were in a community that didn't have a local, now we're in Sheboygan, they've got 3 local general contractors that are all capable of doing the project. We pre-qualify those 3, and every job that goes out, those 3 are submitting bids, and it's effective. We're on budget on the projects, and we're moving along just fine. So, and I hate to be kind of so non-committal, but I also don't want to be the one that advocates for one of the options, and then if it doesn't go as we were all hoping it does, then you're kind of looking back at me saying, why did you go that route? So my hope is that I can kind of help you understand a bit of the pros and cons, the options you have available, and then we'll make a decision collectively. And
What's the downside of the second?
to me, the only downside I really think is that you may never know that you truly paid the lowest cost possible. If that's what drives you and you want to always pay the least amount possible, you may not know that ever. Because arguably, if you use option one, maybe somebody would have bid less on their foreman or their superintendent or their overhead and profit or whatever it may be. And you'll never know. We've never had a client deliver the same exact project and the same schedule in both ways. Obviously, why would you do that? So there's really no way of saying, here's a great case study of this one is the cheapest way or not. It just depends.
And then what's the downside, the biggest downside of the first one?
I think the biggest downside is probably you don't have the construction manager at the table with you through all of design. You're going to get an on-site superintendent and a project manager potentially that you don't know. You may not be comfortable with. Maybe they don't have the experience you want. They're not going to know the project as well. They will not have developed a personal relationship with you that adds some value as you're going through the process. They don't want to let you down. A bid contractor potentially, they've always been accused at least of finding every hole in the drawings and bidding it without and then change ordering to get all those dollars back. That's always been the accusation. In our experience, there's maybe a little bit of that happening, but it's not that significant.
Construction managers take different forms too, right? One could be a general contractor, or typically known as. Others could just be a person who just does, or a company that just does the bookwork part of it, or whatever, if you will, actual work.
Yes. In Wisconsin, we really have almost exclusively people that put work in place or self-perform work. If you cross the border to Illinois, when we do work there, there's nobody that does any work. They all just manage. They don't have crews. It's a Wisconsin thing. I think it's kind of our hardworking German heritage. Is that right? That's kind of where it all came from, I think, is we just generally, our biggest entities here do work of some sort.
One of the concerns I have is that we're spending taxpayer money, public money, so that we should be good fellows of that, or stewards of that money. And we talked at our first meeting about a situation last time where one company, name's not important, but where they just wanted to give one number, period. There was nothing underneath that, and we chose not to do that, so we could get bids and make sure we were doing that. But the typical construction manager, if we went that road, we would know all those breakdowns then, right?
Yep, and I would say just about everybody that and I will overlisten, everybody that has K-12 school experience that does this kind of work, that practices in this general geography of the state, everyone that we've worked with is very open to, here are all the numbers, here's the 5 bids we received in category Y, and here's the apparent low bidder. So that happens with everybody. And I think you as consumers of their product have dictated that happening, which is good, I think.
When would we have to make a decision of what route?
It's not overly essential, quite frankly. I mean, I think in the end, the sooner we make a decision, it's just one, take that off the list of the 10,000 we have to make. And each of them have a little bit of implementation time associated with them. Pre-qualification or option 1 to bid the job, as I said before, we'll do that probably as we get into the fall. If you want to go the route of construction management, I would say to a certain extent there's no point in waiting. You may as well get that partner on board sooner rather than later. They'll attend all the design meetings, they'll become part of the team, just like our architectural team is.
And they're not just sitting there, they're offering their expertise right through building previous schools and things like that.
We're going to talk to them about structural systems. We're going to say which do you think is more affordable in this certain application. It's not just as simple to say steel's always the most affordable or masonry is always the most affordable. Every building is custom, and I mean, we have opinions on that, but if those opinions are validated or not validated by the construction manager, if they're there.
Would this decision need to come up on the agenda in a later meeting?
Yeah, I don't know per se if we need to necessarily vote on our
That's what I
decision.
was gonna say.
What you just have to do is you'll vote on the contract. So if we go to the construction manager, what the board would do is they would help interview and then make a movement to do the construction manager. If not, you wouldn't have to do a thing until really the design build, until the bids come back in. Maybe look at some pre-qualifications, but your role then probably would not be until January or December when that one bid comes in. So you would be more involved and earlier with the construction manager.
So let me ask the board this, from this discussion, have you formulated in your own mind what your preference is? I have. Is it the construction manager?
Yeah, the late swing to that, I think.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure I understood it, and I'm okay with it.
I like the, certainly some more involvement in the board's behalf, but I think that it gives greater transparency, it gives us a better understanding to be able to go to the constituents and say, when they, show us what is our tax dollars buying, and so that you'd have more information at your fingertips to be able to do that. And I kind of like that option. And we may have a little bit more flexibility to ensure that we understand who's doing the bids. And
I'd recommend that if we go the construction manager route, that they can bid, but those come separate. So like if you have like a
The
company
self-perform
A,
work.
self-perform,
Do you like that component?
yeah, that they have, that comes in separate. If they know that from the get-go,
Yep.
I think that fits right into what the mantra of this board and this community is.
Can you explain what you said, though? So you said something like, you really don't, like in option one, the lowest bidder is the lowest bidder. Option two, you don't really know.
We're gonna get proposals, right? So really what that 211 by 17 pullout in here, really that's kind of the information we're gonna get from them, and then we're gonna negotiate the fee based on that. You would never know that if on bid day, 9 months later, if you had option one, if somebody would have undercut those costs, because you just don't know that for sure. But quite frankly, we have a budget for general conditions, we have a budget for fee, we know what those are. If all the proposals we get back in are already over that budget, then I may say, well, okay, maybe we don't want to use it, maybe there's another option here, maybe we decide to. The other thing we always do is we do leave it up to the board that you could elect to, even after you go through the process of selecting a construction manager. If you're just really happy with 3 of them or 2 of them, you could just say at that point, you are now our list of pre-qualified general contractors. I've only had that happen once, but it is the right we typically try to leave in and reserve for a board if they do get in that situation. So in the end, you don't know exactly, but what you do know is you know the people you're gonna work with, you know the geography they're coming from, you know exactly who's gonna be your on-site superintendent, you know who the project manager is gonna be sitting in the room for the next 9 months, and then the entire duration of construction. So that is, there's definitely a benefit there.
I think one of the other big advantages of the construction manager is that you get that person involved up front with the design. And that's the person who's going to be, out on the site, making sure that it happens. They obviously have some experience. And so it's another partner, I think, that can help make the project successful.
They know a little bit more about our vision too by being involved so early.
You're right.
To advocate for us.
The place, Steve.
And again, to make sure there's no added cost to having a construction manager, that we're not getting an extra level or a band.
Those are dollars that we factored in, whether you spend those dollars by hiring the construction manager through the process we discussed, or you spend those dollars when we open an envelope and award a contract. The dollars are in the budget and they would have been expended either way. It's just how you go about selecting
It's
that.
the transparency, at least in the construction manager, you can identify what those costs are.
Yeah.
And don't forget, and you guys, and we're happy with you guys to do the designing and engineering and all that. But if they have some field experience or in the trenches and they say, well, we did that here and that didn't quite work, that's a kind of a team approach.
Fully agree.
Then what we did is I had Greg Sobel he's with C.D. Smith. What they did too is just a conversation, because I know that when we went through originally and did kind of an audit of the buildings, C.D. Smith did help Bray, and they were one of Bray's people, one of the engineers, construction. And Greg said that the numbers look good. The numbers that Bray had in for the $29.5 million, more so the 27, those really matched what current building costs would be. Because that was one of the things that we talked about a long time ago. There's examples of different school districts where Bray came in, all of a sudden, like he said, like Matt had said, the costs come here and go, oh, looks like we can't afford that, so we have to make changes. So that was one of the neat things that we already heard that we're close, that Bray's got that pretty close to what we were looking at.
That only happened once, just for the record. And during that 6 months, it was happening to everybody that was bidding. That was a horrible, that was a miserable couple months going to every board meeting explaining why things were over budget. But we're not in that situation right now. I think our budget's in a good place, and we're bidding a dozen projects in the next 6 months again, so we'll have really good data to support
Our construction costs right now.
far more stable than they were a year ago. I think they're up, but we also have obviously inflated yours, knowing that that was happening, and so I still feel pretty good about where we're at. So the question would be, and again, if the board elects, and I kind of see most heads nodding, to go the route of construction management. Vicki, are you okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
So the next question is, do we want to just open this up to every construction manager again in the world? Or is there a list of 3, 4, 5 that you know already you want to just bring in from the outset?
Let me ask you, is there a list of 3, 4, 5 that you think we should bring in? I know C.D. Smith.
They would be illogical, I would think, given their geography. I don't know are there other large, I shouldn't say that, medium to large-ish construction managers locally that you want to give a chance?
Are they big enough?
I don't know if they do the size of one. Oshkosh had several, of course, C.G. Smith.
C.G. Schmidt's Milwaukee, yep. Myron is out of the valley, and they do a ton of K-12 schoolwork.
What about both?
We can give both an option. They typically don't, but they're big, and they surely could do it, there's no doubt.
Have they done schools?
I was trying to remember some of the companies at the convention.
I mean, the other, like I said, we've got a kind of an in-house list of people we would go to. I would say though, if there's geographies, if there's a bit of a geographic restriction that you want to stay within, I don't want to send it to people in Wausau and Madison. You know, we kind of generally want to stay along the 41 corridor here. I'd rather just be honest with them and not have them waste their time submitting proposals too.
Sure.
Where's Myron?
They're Nina.
It's Craig.
Correct, yeah.
You say that you don't believe that they would accept an invitation? Myron?
I think they would, yeah, sure. They do a lot of K-12 school work. They're one of the biggest K-12 school companies in the state.
Well, who's in Oshkosh then? I thought C.G. Smith was, or at least in the offices. There's a similar name.
Findorf?
There is a similar one. Findorf's out of Madison. Who's out of Oshkosh? Consolidated CCI, Consolidated Construction Incorporated, is up there. I'm drawing a blank, there's one that's up there, but they don't do schools. I'll be honest, I mean, the biggest people that do schools are Myron, C.D. Smith, Findorf out of Madison, C.G. Schmidt out of Milwaukee in Madison. There's a Boss Jorgensen Schuler, BJS, out of the Madison area. And then there's a bunch of...
Does a lot up in the northwest.
Which one?
Market and Johnson.
Market and Johnson does a lot up in the Eau Claire.
Over here though, do
No, I don't know that they would. There's other big ones too, but again, like I said, the other option is that I can literally just send it out to everybody and you guys could make a decision based on what you get.
Capelli is self-educational on your website.
Which one?
Capelli.
Capella.
I don't know if they would do big schools, but.
You know, if you set it out, there's going to be people who are going to self-select out it. It's just sort of the scope of what it is.
I can tell you, not many, when Gina and Asha go out for construction managers, not many people pursue it because they know that Myron is probably the strongest candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard when they walk in and say, we have 400 employees and 300 kids that go to your schools. That's kind of a tough hurdle for anybody else to clear, so most of the time they don't submit. So I could see us struggling to get a little bit of interest here, because I think a lot of them will assume, right or wrong,
Right.
that C.D. Smith has the leg up.
I'd say just open it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure our feelings that way. Because we're gonna pre-qualify them anyway, so, right?
I mean, yeah, we're gonna short list and then bring them into interview for you. Yep. Yep. I don't think there's any risk in doing it, other than that you sometimes have a hard call to make to a local who wanted an opportunity, but they don't have the experience. And we'll just make it clear to them, though, the self-performed work is gonna be bid, and we would really want them to bid.
Sure.
So, okay, I will prepare a draft ad for bids and request for qualifications. We'll get it over to Aaron to review, and we'll get rolling on this.
Probably get a construction manager, probably maybe a couple months.
Sounds good. Getting that out of the way.
All right.
That's easier than picking colors, I can tell you that.
Oh, I remember that.
Just wait till we have color selection.
We can bring all the boards of bricks in, and we got, yeah.
I will not be here the night you talk about colors.
I think the fifth on color, I don't.
All right, so in summary, what we're gonna do is go with the second model, construction manager model. We'll
At
have,
risk model, right? 'Cause
at risk, they're at risk for everything.
Yep.
But with that, what we're gonna do is get a little more transparency, a little bit more dialed-in information to have that. What Matt, and then also is that there's gonna be, for self-work, that will be bid separately through us. They'll have to submit just like everybody else. That'll be transparent when this bid goes out. And then we'll get that all going, then we put it out, we'll just make sure that people know, like we'll send one to C.D. Smith, say, hey, we'd like you to bid on this, we'll put it out to everybody else. Then we'll get some of the top qualifiers, bring them in, interview, go from there.
Sounds good. If you guys think of or hear of some other locals that you believe or that you know are interested in this, please let Aaron know, and I'll absolutely.
Dave, do you know of any?
I'm drawing a blank right now.
Does Commonwealth do schools?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I don't think so. They do a lot of rehab.
They will,
Rehab, churches.
every once in a while, try to throw their hat in the ring, but yeah, I think they tend to do more of the housing redevelopment side.
Good call on that.
But again, we'll put this ad in the local newspapers as well, right? So wherever you send your typical publications.
I don't know if C.D. Smith utilizes them for stuff too.
I don't know.
I don't know if they do Commonwealth, they do Capelli about it. Like Matt said, when Smith and Meyer and Fendorf, they go into something that's, everybody backs away.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the K-12 market has dwindled a bit. I mean, there's really, probably 8 to 10 people that do it. And half of those really just focus geographically, like you said, Market and Johnson. They're gonna be La Crosse, Eau Claire, up the northwest side of the state, not much else.
Yeah, and we found out that you have to, like, the main contractor for the excavating was from Neenah. And we had Baumhart and we had Seminus, but they were so much because they've never done it. I mean, the amount they'd have to pay, and they call it, it's a whole different animal, so. All right,
Full speed ahead?
C.R. Meyer, that's why.
Yeah, you're right, yep. Yeah, they do not do schools that I'm aware of. They do mainly process, manufacturing, factory type work, which is great work. It's been a crazy good industry for them the last couple of years.
all right, so you got good direction?
Yes, thank you.
All right, rock and roll. Way to make a decision.
One down.
Excellent. We'll talk to you, there's,
I would never build a house.
Let's have one.
all right, cool.
You're gonna get
All right.
a mistake.
Have a good night.
Safe travels, thank you very much.
Bye.
All right, let's rock and roll. Excellent, that's interesting. Cool. All right, staff update. Our teacher, Carrie Jo, will talk about Jane in a second. She's we'll be talking about her, incredible person. Pending job offer right now. Gonna find out by Monday of next week for the tech ed one. Interesting position, they're very high need. We're looking at different salary pay, things like that, but looks like there's a really good possibility for a qualified person there. Math they're interviewing right now, taking kind of late, so I'm not sure what's going on. So we got that, just retiring. That's still half is out there, nobody's applied for that. Counselor interviewing soon, when's that coming up?
May 1st.
Monday.
May 1st, okay, excellent.
Next Monday.
And then we'll put out for school psychologist, that'll be coming, and then special education teacher at Friendship, and a couple other ones. We're also holding off a little bit on our instructional aid, see if there's some moving around, so. That's where we're at. We have also just today, Linda Kresbach, who's not underneath the contract, she just does an individual one that we give her, she's re-retiring. and was very thankful for the opportunities that she had here. So that's it. All right.
Are we gonna do something in that area then, social work? Or
No,
somebody else?
we won't replace that. That funds will go to help fund the psychologists. So we're actually gonna absorb some so that we can then get a more bang for our value. Well, Linda, we got a lot of value, but we'll get a psychologist that will be able to do that plus. All right?
I'd asked Aaron a little while ago if we could share just some literacy work that's taken place throughout the year. So I'm going to take like 10 minutes just kind of talk to you about the process we took and then show you a little bit video of kind of what literacy instruction will continue to look like in our K-5 classrooms, and then just see if you guys have any questions about that too. And Deb and Carrie Jo have been part of this process too, so they will certainly jump in, or you can ask them questions as well too. So what I handed out to you is just an overview here of just some of the work that we've done. I think when Carrie Jo and Deb and I talked earlier this year, I don't know if we thought we would embark on this, but something kind of fell into our laps as far as literacy goes, and just the need for a consistent tool to help support our staff, which would in turn help support our students. So we can, back in August, we talked about just committing to our literacy approach, which is that workshop model, which I'll show you on a brief little video here, just kind of what that looks like in the classroom. So in case you haven't seen that taking place, you'll get just a brief little look at that. And then kind of as we went through the year, we had a grade level that wanted to use the literacy tool, and the whole team decided to come together and do that, so we piloted that. And then later on in the year, we had another tool that we had looked at last year. Melanie Cowling had looked at that with some of the literacy team, and we kind of looked at that tool as well and did some research and investigations of both those tools to kind of see which one would fit our needs best and our students best. And working all the way down through lots of conversations and surveying staff and just talking to everyone we could, we in April made a decision to go with the Lucy Calkins Units of Study for Teaching Reading and Writing. And that product, you can see, the video here is from that company, but that product is pretty much, if you ask most schools in Wisconsin and probably throughout the nation, they're using this tool to support their workshop model. For us, we, again, just went with what was best for our students, so we didn't go with, hey, everyone else is using this, let's use it too, but we kind of went with what we thought would be best for our students and took that route. So again, kind of just with that sheet there, just giving you an idea of kind of a year-long process. Really proud of the kindergarten and first through fifth grade staff for taking some risks. Those teams that, specifically the second grade team that was piloting this and the fourth grade team that tried the other tool for a little bit. Just really thankful their risk taking and their ability to share with other staff. And we had lots of other people in the K-5 staff that were digging in and researching on their own and trying to find out information and see what could work best for us. So, we were just talking about building pieces which are exciting, and this is really going to be a great building block for our literacy program and instructional program, because this is going to have, I think, a really huge impact as we start to use this tool next school year. So with that video, what I'll do, we'll show this video and I'll cut it off around the 3-minute mark or so. It'll just kind of share with you what typically literacy will look like, and this isn't any different than what it normally has, but again, this tool will help enhance what we currently do. And I've never actually seen Lucy Calkins, but I think this is her on the video here. So
the reading workshop is deliberately kept simple and predictable. If you think about it, most of the creative environments in our society are simple and predictable. The artist's workshop, the scholar's library, the researcher's laboratory, each of those environments is deliberately kept simple and predictable because it's the work at hand that's so changing and so complex. The structure of a reading workshop echoes the structure of a writing workshop. Each day begins with a mini lesson. Teachers convene kids, usually into the corner of the classroom, where they teach explicitly the skills and strategies of proficient reading. Usually in a mini lesson, the teacher demonstrates and then says, now you try it. and helps the kids to try whatever the teacher has just demonstrated, usually working in partners, but sometimes doing quick work by themselves. The most important words in a mini lesson probably are the words, "Off you go." After 10 minutes, the mini lesson ends, and the teacher sends kids off to their reading spots. Kids often have magazine boxes or baggies or some other container where they carry not just the book that they're reading today, but 4 or 5 books, the books on deck, we call it the bedside table of books. And they go to their reading spots, settle themselves down, and read. Read, read, read. Very often the teacher suggested that they are posting a particular thing. Perhaps she's taught them something about prediction. And so she might say, in addition to all the other thinking work and all the other post-iting and jotting that you might be doing, will you push yourself to make sure you do a little predicting today? And then as the kids are reading, the teacher moves around teaching. She teaches 1-to-1 in reading conferences, or 1-to-2 in partner conferences. And she teaches in small groups of all sorts. After about 20 minutes or so, sometimes the room begins to get a little bit restless. Sometimes the teacher realizes that she's got something she wants to say to the entire class, in which case she does a mid-workshop teaching point, where she stands usually in the middle of the room and just says, "Readers, all eyes up here," and then gives them a pointer, sometimes showing a particular child's work as an example, and sends them all back to continue their reading. After another 20 minutes where the kids are reading, and sometimes post-iting or jotting in reading notebooks, and the teacher's teaching, then it's time for the teaching share. In a teaching share, usually the teacher doesn't convene the kids. Instead, she again stands in the middle of the room and teaches something that's come out of that day. Very often, if she's taught them something about, say, prediction, she'll extend what she's taught. She'll layer it with a new tip. She'll show an example of kids who've done some particularly powerful work. And then it's time for partner sharing. Kids get together with their partner, and they may take a favorite part.
And again, kind of if there's some music or something more exciting than that, but just kind of gives you a general idea of what that literacy looks like. It has looked like in our district for a while. When you look at research on what works for students, that's the type of the approach that works. You have that teacher giving a lesson to the whole class, and then the really important part is we want kids reading and writing on their own or with guidance from that teacher. Not the teacher reading to them, not the teacher doing the work for them, but having a chance to read or write at their level and have materials that they can do the work on their own, because that's how kids grow within that literacy area. So that was kind of focused on reading, but writing would be the same structure. You'd see the whole class talking together. Then there'd be a teaching point, the kids would go and write, and then there might be those teaching points within the lesson. Kids can do a little writing on their own again, and then they come back at the end to kind of regroup and talk about, hey, what did we learn today, what was our focus? So now again, that structure, the video was from Lucy Calkins, the tool we just implemented or just purchased and we'll be implementing next year, but the concept of the workshop model is not new. It's just we haven't really had a consistent tool that we can all use K-5 that can deliver that, so it's consistent from classroom to classroom, grade to grade. So when kids go from kindergarten to first grade, they're going to be hearing the same language they heard in kindergarten, doing the same sort of structure, and I think that's the one piece that we've been missing through the years, that we just haven't had that consistency, and that hurts when kids have to kind of start over a new year, kind of learning those routines, learning that language. Now they can start that new year with the teacher saying, hey, remember last year when you did this? Well, guess what we're doing this year? Same thing, but now it's jacked up to that next grade level. So we're very excited. It's going to be, we've been telling staffs already that the kind of the easy work is done, figuring out what tool to use. The hard work is going to be those teachers being trained. Some of them already have a pretty good knowledge base of that tool, but getting trained, learning new tricks, and then kind of implementation process over the next 3 to 5 years to just ensure that we're doing the right things for kids. So
I heard some pretty amazing things while they were doing the training, especially in the second grade, about how they were working together and taking some risks from some teachers that I had never heard that from.
Yeah, and that was the energizing thing, talking to staff. You'll see that throughout here. We met with staff a lot, and how it changed their conversations. They hear them talk about literacy instruction. I have not heard conversations like that before in our district, because we haven't had something common to go back to and say, hey, this worked in my class, it didn't work here, how come, oh, you need to do this, and teachers talking about, like Aaron said, just, hey man, this teacher was my support, or my team really helped me get through this lesson, because it was new for me, it was challenging, and we're gonna see a lot more of that as we go on this journey beginning next year, so we're excited.
I just have a question, and I'm not questioning the decision at all.
Yeah.
I trust. But what is this replacing? Is it literacy links that you used to do? Or
Balanced literacy is what we have, but
Balanced literacy,
this is
that's
how
right.
to do balanced literacy.
Yeah.
So it'll supplement that, or will it, what, we got that room full of books I remember seeing over there.
Yeah, everything we currently had is gonna supplement that, like as far as books go, and the resources we have in classrooms and in our book room. The thing that that happened, we did balanced literacy, and that was back when I was teaching, is we jumped on board that framework. It's not a package, hey, you buy balanced literacy and go do it. It was kind of just a philosophy, and I don't know if the training was quite there, so some people knew what they were doing, some weren't as strong, and then we kind of had all these resources to try to use, but we didn't really have any consistency in the training that we're going to have now with that consistent tool. So the tool is just going to teach that workshop model. Balanced literacy is still there within that workshop model. It's just a tool that isn't replacing anything. We didn't really have anything before, and I think that kind of hurt us a little bit because we couldn't have those common conversations and that common instruction. We had pockets of it, but not like we're going to have the next 3 to 5 years and beyond.
So the tool keeps it organized, it's like this, and this, and you have, okay.
Yep.
And I expect the conversations, second grade's
Right.
done this, and the conversations among the second grade team are so much richer in terms of the teaching that they are discussing, the outcomes that the students are having than, let's say, our first grade or our third grade teams. And it's not because of the teachers themselves, it's just that they have that common literacy vocabulary to be using. They have the common lessons that they're doing every day. So the instruction looks very similar, even though it's differentiated to meet the needs of the different kids in the classroom. They're still working on the same things at the same time compared to maybe first grade or third grade where they may be planning something that's along the same theme, but maybe it looks different, and they're not able to have those same kinds of conversations right now. So this will help us really get everybody on the same page, not only within the grade level, but again for the kids as they move from one to the next. That vocabulary about literacy is going to be so important because they're going to be calling it the same thing from one year to the next.
And our staff is excited. They've been
Yeah.
kind of talking about this for a while, and they realize that, hey, we need to be more consistent for our students to make that big impact. So they're excited to, and we looked at both tools, we kind of surveyed and say, which one do you think fits our students best or fits our school as a whole best? And it was pretty split. The really common theme was we want one thing that we can be consistent with and we can have those strong conversations about. So it really didn't matter which one we ended up choosing. It was everyone was okay with it. They were just excited to have that common piece.
Is it just K-5, or what happens at 6?
Yep, it's K-5. This same company has recently expanded to, they have reading and writing kits for 6 through 12. And when I've talked to a couple teachers that at the middle school that are kind of dabbling in that workshop approach in the middle school, which is, if you think of a middle school classroom or a high school classroom, usually it's sit and listen to the teacher talk for 40 minutes. It's not teacher talk a little bit, kids do a lot of the work, but we like to, I think that's kind of new way of thinking as far as literacy goes, even 6 through 12, and I talked to some high school staff that are starting to do some more things like that in their classrooms with literacy. But so there's an option for that, but I think we have to we're going to get going here with K-5 and then see where that takes us for 6th through 8th grade and beyond.
And how do you, this is a silly question,
Yeah.
but I'm going to ask it anyway. So how do you know if it works?
Yeah, I'm really expecting as we, with this and along with some of the curriculum work that we're doing to identify, within this tool helps us teach skills to kids. So we're going to identify in the process of identifying which skills do we think are most important. For example, like mathematics, you might say math facts are pretty important. If you know math facts, that impacts every other skill within math and makes you more impactful at those skills. The same thing with literature. If you know certain skills in reading and writing, it impacts other skills. And so we want to identify what those core skills are. And then, through assessments, test results, I'm expecting to see some gains from that.
It's just really giving,
Yeah.
you just all set.
Yeah, and I think what Carrie Jo said too, the conversations will start to change from what are we teaching to how are we impacting student learning? Because we don't have to go through the, well, what are we teaching? We have what we're teaching, it's how do we help the student learn more than what they are learning, or the student that's already at this high level, how do we take them to the next level? So I think that's a more proactive approach than just reacting to, oh, what are we gonna do today, or what are we gonna, which happen in pockets, but now we're gonna have some of that go away.
Kind of the way I look at it is like, let's say you're working on an engine or something, and you have a whole bunch of different wrenches. You gotta try to find the right wrench. Where if you have a crescent wrench, that one wrench is a tool that can help you be more efficient and effective. It's the same thing with the reading, like Lucy Calkins had said earlier. Keep the artist's area the same. Keep the expectations in the work and the laboratory the same. And it's the reading dynamic. Right now, people are like, I think, almost working too hard because there is no technology of an expected skill set. That's what this is. It's that technology organization. Now we haven't had consistent.
But I expect this to be a really big deal. It's something that we probably should have done a while ago, but just didn't really. That was a need, but now we were able to identify that and moved a little bit quicker than we thought with waiting until maybe next year to get to this point. We had a chance to do it this year, and staff's excited. So. And
I would say this doesn't happen if we don't have a director of teaching and learning that can focus on it. And this right here, and what Adam is going to be working with the teams that are early childhood through 5th grade, will then cascade and make our middle school and high school better. So this is, once again, trying to get smarter and getting things at base and figuring out where our issues are most and how we can have the biggest impact. So thank you.
And kind of just a little preview, so if you have any questions beyond this, principals at the buildings are great resources, myself too, but there's a lot more videos and lots more information if you're ever curious.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Since Samantha's here, was there anything that you'd like to share? And did your interviews go good?
They went really well. We interviewed 4 candidates. We interviewed one via Skype, which, some people are so used to doing stuff like that, and other people are like hesitant. And I thought the candidate who did it, because your connection isn't always, it's just not always the smoothest. And she did a great job. And then actually our last candidate really kind of knocked the socks off of people with the way that she interviewed and just very research-based driven, strong relationships, talk a lot about the math confidence, which we've had conversations about, those kids that just say, I'm just not good at math. There's so many articles out there about, it's math confidence, we need to change that. So we have 2 really strong candidates that I'm just gonna ask some tweaking questions that we just kind of, want answered tomorrow, but I'm really excited. Either one of them is gonna make our math department better.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Now, is this for the CAP?
No.
No, this is for the geometry algebra position.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Student council update, anything?
Yeah, let me, Paige emailed me, so let me just hold on one second here.
And we're down 3-0 with 10 minutes left. Huh?
So a couple of things that Paige shared with me for student council. So elections for the junior, sophomore, and freshman classes have been completed, and those students have been notified. Election for student council board will be getting the following weeks. I'm going to get more information from them, but today is when Amy Coe and Jean Hins and the students arrived back from their convention held in Madison. So kind of hear more of how that went. Upcoming events, we have a lot. The couple that Paige included is Choral Cabaret is coming up May 5th, 6th, and 7th. The Street concert is May 24th. And then this weekend, State Soul Ensemble Vocal and Instrumental is being held on Saturday at U of Oshkosh. The Senior Banquet is May 3rd, Wednesday, at the Thelma Center. National Honor Society, new inductee ceremony in May. In April, they worked on Safe Driving Month. We also held prom. It was another great, uneventful which I love, as you guys love. Prom, other than a couple, just the drama of, okay, it's 20 after 8, I brought you to prom, but I'm not with you anymore, kind of thing. But I think we had about, we again had quite a few guests there, and had about, I'd say about 175-ish there, and they were a really nice group. They all looked so beautiful, and Paula Rabadon and Segal Madellan were voted king and queen, so that was really nice to see on the stage. The prom court, which this was kind of unique, and I told Erin this morning, I was a little hesitant, but it came from the kids, so wanted to honor their wishes. Meredith Vallejo had just done everything to help set up and do prom and sell tickets and whatever, and she was not on our court ballot. And first they had requested the advisors, can't you just put her on the ballot? And they're like, no, we can't, we've got to follow the rules. So they actually said, could you please do something special for her? Like really, she went above and beyond. So they actually gave her a little miniature crown and voted her as prom princess. So after the king and queen got crowned, they thanked Meredith, gave her her own little crown and flowers, and said she was the prom princess. So, and it didn't come from the advisors, any else, this was from the court members, so I just didn't want it to take away from king and queen, but it came from the kids, and so I figured if all the court is okay with it, I can be fine with it.
Yeah, we went because a lot of kids were skillhead in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
She was interested, and that was really special. I mean, I had I'm not gonna say I had a tear in my eye, but it was close. Meredith was,
come on, little tear.
Meredith was overwhelmed by it. I think she held on for a bit, but when they asked her to move over and stand by the court, and knowing it came from the kids made it all. It wasn't like, geez,
yeah, it wasn't
doing
Mr. J
everything,
saying great job.
She's the big boss or anything. They were genuinely pleased with it. It was really cool.
I'm grateful. I'm looking forward.
And, got all those kids, jam-packed them on the 3 buses. They probably could have had a 4th bus for post-prom, but, all that went smooth, and love that we have that, and love that we have parents that are involved in there, so. And I think, like I mentioned, next year's group trying it at Whispering Springs, I just applaud them, again, if their class votes they want to do that, it doesn't mean that it'll stay there, but it means you want to try something different. Yep, we can see how that goes, and, go from there.
Just one suggestion from a guy in the audience. If the queen is going to get a yellow rose, that box should be the only box with a yellow flower in it, because kids don't really know the difference sometimes between yellow carnations and yellow.
Point well taken, I said the same thing.
I thought I was watching the Academy Awards again. There was some real who actually was the queen. It turned out okay. It clicked, but it was for a second there, I was a little worried.
I think that's such a valid point, because there was one, I knew who the king and queen were, and I saw one young lady, I was like, oh my God, did they give her the wrong box? Oh no, please, no. It was just a yellow flower, but I said to Brian and the advisors, you cannot have any colors because kids do not know flowers. And he was like, really? And I'm like, no! That one girl saw yellow and she went, oh! And then, then Paula was kind of hesitant to, it all worked out, but yes, noted, thank you. No.
It worked out, it was nice.
But it was very nice, they all looked, so lovely. It's funny because a lot of those same kids were dressed up for Rotary luncheon today. I mean, our kids do a fantastic job of making sure they're dressed appropriately. They don't come in jeans. I had 2 kids forget this morning. They called home right away, got changed. I mean, they really applaud them, so.
They were the first ones at Rotary luncheon and last ones to leave.
And we do treat them at Culver's, so I have that Pops Fund, and so I think that that's important to do, and they always come in and thank me and, whatever, so they're a good group.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Freeman. So and just a reminder that the 8th we have a meeting and the 22nd. 8th is going to be a lot of contracts and personnel. 22nd, normal board meeting. Also, looking at the 8th, I'm going to try to get all of the policies updated. I got Richard Zimmerman coming in, so you're going to have a quick and dirty list about the updates. I have some more to do, so I'll get you that information. And then,
Is that at 7, that May 8th?
yes, they're both at 7.
Thank you.
Yep. And then, remember, May 3rd, 10 a.m., we've got the bus, Adam's going with Carol and Noel, Carol McCarthy and Noel. So they're gonna be on the bus from CESA 6, some of you have heard about that, I sent that out. The whole CESA 6 is coming here, that whole bus, they're gonna be here, we're gonna do some cultural things, happiness, advantage, got a bike, got to organize, I got an hour and 20 minutes to make them not wanna leave here, let them know how cool we are. Then, we're going to taco, kind of Mexican buffet, kind of pre-Cinco de Mayo, down at the cafe, so Jill will be feeding them all, and then they'll have a cookie and a water when they leave and get back on the bus. So whoever comes from that, hopefully we get like 40, 50 people from New London down to West Bend. They go to Berlin first, so they're going by Bob. Uncle Bob is Bob Idle, he's a nice guy. They're gonna look at their math lab, it's cool. Then they're gonna come here, and pretty good, and then they go to Nina afterwards. So Nina's doing some good things with cross-line about risk taking. So we're the first ones in that, so that should be cool. So if you can, 10 o'clock or 10:40, they'll be here. More than welcome to come here for a little bit and hang out, see the people come to our district. That's all I got. And then I'll ask you guys about some dates for an expulsion coming up, so we'll get that date all set up. You guys have anything else that you want to add? All right, anything else from the board? All right, let's rock and roll.
All right. Next on the agenda. Item M, new business. Number 1, discuss and consider PMA as bond proceed management company.
2 weeks ago, I was like in heaven. So, there's one thing I love to do is learn stuff that I haven't known before. And since this referendum passed, learning a lot of stuff, including we can make money off of the money that we get because it has to be invested. But yet you only can invest in certain ways, and so it's insured. So what Marie and I did is we interviewed 2 of the best bond management companies, PMA and ADM. And then I'll turn it over to Marie, she can tell you a little bit about that process and where we're going.
Both companies are excellent. They're very well known throughout the state. They do a lot of bond management for school districts. They both have similar investment policies and procedures. But Aaron and I sat down with the 2, Josh and Jake.
Jake from State Farm.
And Jake from State Farm. And we struggled with the decision. So Aaron reached out to a couple of his superintendent contacts, and then I put an email out to CESA 6 business managers and just said, PMA or ADM, and why? And it came back overwhelmingly PMA, and they're bigger, they've been around longer. I think they have a little bit more, how would you describe it, Aaron? With their basic, like we're gonna go with WISC.
Right,
It's a little bit
more established and large. I think safety's a big thing.
Yeah.
Number one, wherever investment is, we want a dollar in, dollar out. We heard that a couple times. But we also want to take advantage
Right.
of, a 6-month, a 9-month, a 12-month, an 18-month bond, CD, you can make some significant money on $20 million. So we want to be able to have that, and one of the things you're going to have this, and the next thing is going to be WISC. Currently, right now, we use something called the LGP, and to kind of tell you what that's just like our money market checking account. We can get money in and out and stuff like that. Well, what we would be doing is going into a 6603 to join this co-op, and PMA uses this WISC, which is the money in and out, but then on the back side, they invested in the banks. And the nice thing too about PMA and ADM, so many times I feel as a school district or as a nonprofit, we ask, could you give us? Could you give us? Could you help us? Well, now we have resources that the public was kind enough to invest in us. Now we can go to our local banks. Hey, do you need capital? Can you use some capital? What can you give us for it? We want to help out local banks, as long as you're making money also, but it kind of switches things a little bit. So it's not only will PMA help us to make money on our investments, which then we can turn and utilize just in those programs. They have to stay in those, in the whatever our projects are, but we can also utilize it to help develop relationships with banks and other institutions.
So PMA will actually help us with reporting. There's going to be a lot of reporting. arbitrage calculations, which is investing that 29.5 million because we can't spend or we can't make more than what we pay out. There are certain rules and spend
Kind of
outs.
like, let's say we're paying out X in interest, we can't make more than we're paying out interest.
Yeah,
It's called arbitrage, which isn't a Beastie Boys song, what I thought it was at first. But then what happens is that, so they'll tell us, you need to spend money now, otherwise you will have to pay it back.
Right. They will help us, that I can even give them our draw schedule and I can send them our invoices, they'll pay them. Their fee is based on the spread between the investment and the cost. So we're not gonna know exactly what that cost is. They're not gonna give us an invoice, they just keep some of that investment money. And it depends what we invest in. If we invest in CDs, there's a certain fee for that. If we invest in more local banks, there's a certain fee for that.
They're called base points. You guys know the base points? Instead of saying 100th of a percent, that's a base point. So 100 base points is 1%. So like you might have 15 base points for a 6-month CD. You might have 17 base points for investment in a bank, or Cedars, which is a fun one, that's for another time, but that's pretty interesting. So, but that's all based on base points, and the base points of ADM and PMA are about the same. One wasn't gonna be cheaper than the other.
No. In fact, PMA, it looked like they would be able to invest our money in, we asked them for some projections, some investment projections, and PMA came out a little bit more as far as investing. So we reached out to our peers and asked them. They've been through it before, and we would have been fine with either one. We talked with Mike Clark and said, what do you guys think? And he said, he'll be fine, he'll be in good hands with either one, so.
And Josh from PMA sent us a thank you note. So.
Yes, that was a big deal.
That was really nice.
Josh called today and he's been in contact. Now, do you guys need anything for the board meeting? Do you want me to come to the board meeting? So we were very impressed and he was very impressed with our
What did he
district.
say, that we were one of the top 2 ever?
Yes.
Client said
He brought this thick book. It's probably his like Bray's book that he gave you tonight. I think he got to the first page and then that was it. It was just a conversation about our culture and we kind of went off topic a little bit, but he was able to cover everything in just a more natural way than going through his book. He said he's never done that before. Can't imagine.
They do different things than Baird would do?
Yes.
Yes.
Or what Baird's doing in the past?
Yes.
Okay. And then
This is a bond management company, so they will take our money and they'll invest it in, in securities or banks or.
Nothing from Canada.
the Baird still does the actual bond
Yes.
They'll go out, yes,
stuff
and
going
get,
out.
yep.
All right. and
Yep.
then The other question I had was, is it just for the referendum money or not
We're
any of
gonna
our
s-
other investments?
We're gonna see how it goes. We can definitely move our LGIP money over.
To WISC.
They do the same thing that our LGIP. Our LGIP is our investment account, so I move money in and out of there for cash flow. So that's where the bulk of our fund balance is. PMA will do it, or WISC will do it, and other districts are moving toward that. We just haven't done that yet. They have a little better interest rate, WISC does, than LGIP. So we'll see how it goes, and it should be seamless if we do move.
And ADM had something called AMMA, which is their WISC. So this might give us another opportunity for later on to say, hey, we like how this works, maybe we can make, some more interest on the WISC instead of the LGIP. Plus with the bond, it's gonna be a great learning thing for us to see maybe how we can maximize some investments too.
Right.
And this is gonna be another great relationship with a company we never had before that could maybe yield some good things in the future too.
All right, so I'll look to the board for board action on the recommendation for the approval of PMA as the district's bond proceeds management company.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that. Further questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Hack,
Yes.
Chisholm,
Yes.
Goldowski, yes. Streeter,
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
Item number 2, discuss and consider a resolution authorizing entry into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement related to the Wisconsin Investment Series Cooperative and authorizing participation in the investment program of the fund.
That just relates to the top one that we had talked about, so we can use that instead of the LGIP, or allow that as a mechanism for PMA to help us with investments and paying bills. And just a side note, we also learned that you can make more money or save more money by negotiating when you pay, more so than you get interest. So that's this construction manager thing is gonna be really huge, because once we start doing things, normally it'll be like a draw schedule. We wanna be paid 6 weeks after or 7. We can go and negotiate, well, how about if we paid you in 4 weeks, would you give us a 5% discount? So we can look at if we make more money by having those discounts than by the investment. So there's other ways that we're gonna see that we've already got great advice from PMA and from Mike Clark about how we can, Mike Clark from there. So interesting stuff.
All right, so do you have the resolution drawn? Is that in the?
It's already there, it's in there to be signed.
All right, so board action authorizing the resolution for the issue listed. I'm not going to read it.
To join WIS, you can say to join WIS.
To join WIS.
I will make that motion to join this.
Second?
All right, additional questions or discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Will,
Yes.
Streeter,
Yes.
Chisholm,
Yes.
Goldowski, yes. Hack,
Yes.
Item number 3, discuss and consider educator contracts for the 17-18 school year for Jane
Manjan.
Manjan. FLC.
We don't have anybody else yet. We might have a math one by the 8th. Tech ed, I'll know by next Monday. I'm feeling good about it.
Okay,
Feeling
okay.
good about it.
I got both fingers and toes crossed.
FaceTimed them and everything.
Oh,
We might be building an RC, remote control, one of those big, like, they go like 90 miles an hour. We might build one of those, because we might have a club. I don't know yet, but that's what
Oreo
I
time, Oreo time.
negotiating chips. So we only have Miss Jane Manjan, and I'll turn that over to Carrie Jo.
Sure. So Jane Mungeon comes from the Kewaskum Farmington School District. She's currently teaching, this is, I believe, is her 11th year in education. So she teaches art for Farmington Elementary and the I4 Learning Charter School. But we had a really deep pool of candidates. It was a really tough decision, but we actually had some other teachers within our building that actually came forward and recommended Jane, so that helped definitely with our final decision. Very excited to have her. She actually does a lot of online portfolios of the student work. So she doesn't necessarily use the technology in the art room, but she uses technology to bring art to the community and showcase our student work. And a lot of it is very similar to the work that Alice does with students, because, as it turns out, Jane Manjan actually is team teaching, or her counterpart within the district actually used to be one of Alice's student teachers. So Jane has been using Alice's lesson plans with Alice's consent. So it's actually really great. So we'll get some really amazing talent, just a great fit for us as far as the culture of our building, and just so excited to have her come on board.
She'll be stopping.
With your approval.
Yeah, on Wednesday. Very excited. Her aunt and uncle, I had, are the Deaners. She's a Barron, maiden name's Barron, so she's from the area.
Yeah, she's Fond du Lac area.
Excellent. All right, so at this time then I'll entertain a motion that we accept approve the educator contract for Jane Manjan for next year.
So moved.
Second.
All right, additional questions? Seeing none? Roll call vote, please.
Streeter,
Yes.
Goldowski, yes. Hack,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Chisholm.
Yes.
Thank you.
Last item is item number 4, appoint board committee members, WASB representative, CSED representative, and deputy clerk. So as my,
Keep going. I'll give you something, remind me, we're gonna start something new, we're gonna, I got a note card. I'll have all you guys just write a little note, and then we'll send that to Jane. She gets it, so we're starting. Oh, you got one
I
already?
have 2. Not for them, no, they still need to do their assignment, but yeah, I've got some more to send to them.
So I need to appoint representatives, and so I would like to appoint, with your acknowledgement, of course, Steve, that you would continue to be our WASB representative, which you have done admirably for all of these years.
Sure.
I will continue to represent the district at the CISA Board of Control meetings, and Deputy Clerk, Superintendent Zadok. And in addition to that, did you want to make official the 2 members of the building committee?
Yeah, I would say if all of you, I would recommend that you're all appointed to facilities, so you still, that'll still be a big part of things, we'll still meet periodically, and then if you'd like, it sounds like Vicki and Steve would like to be the main representatives of the facility, or of the PLT.
So duly noted then, so that
Leadership.
Steve and Vicki will be
We'll be on the
on the building BLT.
Bacon, lettuce, and
Not
toast at my
bacon,
house.
All right, that, so let the records reflect those appointments, and that brings to,
Going to close.
Anyway, you need a motion to.
I do.
Yep. Totally did. I got a little bit too small.
okay, so those appointments need to be voted on. So,
Did you set it up?
that's what the tally sheet says.
More okay, good, Vice President.
All the authorities.
I thought it was,
It's just no.
Toronto, they played the Eagles last year. And they did the same thing. Nowhere, it was like really.
You guys know about that?
Yeah, about fall calls.
Okay, I know about that, Alice's big reaction.
The same thing. So nothing.
all right, next item on the agenda is closed session.
Sending video or something?
Discuss superintendent mid-year review, so we'll entertain a motion, we move to closed session under state statutes 19.85, paren 1, paren C. And also